Hello
And welcome
to Let's Talk About Book.
where we talk about book.
Right now, we are finishing Mistborn.
Yes, and we are Smeevca and Strawberry.
Yes.
We're bad to not say that sometimes.
Yep, I think we didn't introduce ourselves in the last one.
I think we did the last one, but
The one before that?
The one before that, maybe we didn't. I don't know.
Yeah.
I was editing it recently, but I think I still have one more to edit, and then
Yeah, so I think it was 5.
yeah, something like that.
Yeah, because this should be episode 7.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know. Maybe this is 7 or 8.
I think it's 7.
Well, you'll know because you can count them.
You're looking at the playlist.
Because you're looking at the playlist probably, and you can count them.
This does look spikier.
It does look spikier for
audio.
sure. Yeah, but I think it's like a lot of times when we're talking, it just kind of doesn't look like anything.
Got you.
And the other one, it's like
Yeah, and I did have to turn us pretty far up. So
yeah, we're futzing. We're futzing with the gain of the microphone. So like, listen, if there's anybody out there and you're like, here's all the secrets to making your audio sound good with whatever the fuck kind of microphone this is, Maono, Maono, I don't know, is what it says on it. Anyway, point is we're trying, and we said in the first episode that we have shit audio.
Exactly.
So it's like, you get what you sign up for, I guess. So if you've had to have the volume up way high in order to hear us,
yes,
and now we're much louder, and you're like, oh my god,
yeah,
sorry. But also, you're welcome. You can turn your audio, you can turn your volume down now. I don't know.
Hi, Tilly.
Hi, Tilly. What was that about? You made a whole noise about it and everything. And there she goes.
I think I need to let her outside.
Oh.
I'm sorry about that.
Good timing, Tilly. Hello and welcome back. In another different episode of the podcast, I ranted about how Audacity sucks, and I cut it out of that episode. But not this time.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, no. This time you get to hear that Audacity sucks and I hate it. Anyway, we're back.
We're back.
I hit spacebar to unpause the thing because that's what it said, and instead just I don't even know.
It started it from the beginning. Or it didn't do anything, and then it started it from the beginning.
Yeah, and so it's just like, it's stupid. It's so stupid, and I hate it. But anyway, we're back.
Uh-huh.
This episode is already off to a great start.
Fantastic.
But I think that's just the way the podcast is.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're just a little cursed no matter what.
Yeah.
And that's just part of the fun and the tone of the podcast.
Exactly.
And boy howdy,
Yeah.
we finished the book.
We did. We finished the book. We said we were only going to do, like, half of this section. And, of course, we lied. And did the rest.
Yeah. Yeah, no, we ended up, like, listening to it. And it's like, I want to listen to the rest of it. Because it's like, we recorded the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like...
Then we just started listening to the audiobook, right?
Yeah, I think we just, like, started listening to the audiobook. Either, like, then or, like, the next day.
Yeah.
And, like... we were just like listening to the rest of it. We listened to all the rest of it. It's like, well, we can either record again immediately, or you know, but we ended up waiting till now to record just because it was like, oh my god, it's so much.
Yeah. There's a lot to talk about, a lot to think about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's
yeah, because it's like we got to the part that we were supposed to stop at. It's like, oh, we could record now, or we could wait. We don't want to wait, so we just listened. And then we were done listening, and they're like, okay, we'll record this, like, tomorrow. And then we kept saying we'll record it tomorrow for, like, a few days.
Yeah.
And that's why these videos come out every other week, and not every week.
Yep, just to make sure that we...
that we have time.
Yeah, and don't stress ourselves.
And that we don't stress ourselves too much. But yeah, and they are now actually coming out every other week, because we did a weirdo thing.
Yeah, where we put one out, like, the week after we put the first 3 out.
Yeah, you know, just to have, like, a bit, you know, more stuff out earlier so that, like, people had stuff to, like, watch, you know, and enjoy. But, now we're doing the every other week thing.
Yeah.
And it's so nice to look and be like, oh, I don't have to worry about this until, like, April.
Yep.
And it's like, once I edit these two most recent episodes, it's like, that'll get us all the way, like, through April.
Yep,
until,
and
like,
it'll
May.
be one complete book. We will have all of the Final Empire.
We'll have ding dang done it. We'll have
Absolutely.
We'll have actually gotten a whole ass book done, and that'll be something. And then we can move on to the next one.
To Well of Ascension.
To Well of Ascension.
I think at the end of this video, or like at the end of this, I want to ask you your kind of theories and what you like. Yeah. Type of stuff for Well of Ascension, because I'm interested in that.
Yeah, I think that, like, this video, it's probably, because, like, normally what we've been doing is, like, the epigraphs at the beginning of the chapter, and then we do the chapter by chapter, and then we're just kind of, like, done. Yeah. But this time, like, once we're done with the chapter by chapter, there'll probably be, like, a little section that's, like, complete thoughts.
Yeah, of the book.
Sort of, like, reflecting on, like, the book as a whole, and part of that will include my, like, questions about, like, what's and then, like, my theorizing, because there's going to be a lot of, like, but, like, we learned all this stuff, but there's all this other stuff we still don't know. It does look a little peaky sometimes. It does look a little
peaky.
Maybe just adjusting the gain a smidge, just turning it down a smidge. It's still up, but, like,
Alright, well, let's try this for a bit.
Yeah, maybe this won't, if it's, I don't know. You'll have to hear our bullshit. Sorry, but yeah, it's epigraph time.
Yeah, it's epigraph time. So the first one we have is before chapter 31.
Yep, because it's like 31 through 39.
And we now know who these epigraphs are, which is fun since we finished the book.
Yeah, well, we'll get there.
We will get there, but let's go with this. Because I have a few things to talk about in this since we've finished it.
Yeah.
That just to point out. Mm-hmm. Other men worry whether or not they will be remembered. I have no such fears, even disregarding the terrorist prophecies. I have brought such chaos, conflict, and hope to this world that there is little chance that I will be forgotten. I worry about what they will say of me. Historians can make what they wish of the past. In 1,000 years' times, will I be remembered as a man who protected mankind from a powerful evil? Or will I be remembered as a tyrant who arrogantly tried to make himself a legend?
Yeah, yeah, because I don't know. Because part of me wants to be like, oh, should we, like, say this stuff now or, like, wait until we get to that chapter? But it's like, for, like, spoiler reasons. Yeah. But it's also like, we already know that, like, we've read the whole book by this point.
Yeah, I think it's alright to,
Yeah, it's. I think once we get into, like, the chapter by chapter, I want to try and sort of be like, here's what I was thinking at the time.
Yeah. But these epigraphs, I think it's fun to go over with
the full context and stuff. Yeah, it's like, once we get to, like, the end stuff, I can look back on the things that I said in the chapter by chapter and, like, blah 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 blah. Yeah. But yeah. Yeah, because spoilers, this is not the Lord Ruler.
Right, and he was not really remembered.
No.
Which is, like, really interesting, just, like, reading through this bit.
Yeah, I wasn't even, like, thinking about that per se, because it's, like, he was not actually remembered.
Right.
And, but he is also, it's like, he was remembered as a tyrant, but also he wasn't actually remembered.
Right, exactly. Like he was basically taken over.
Yeah, he was, like, both.
Yeah.
He was somehow both.
Yeah.
Because it's, like, sort of, because someone's going around sort of pretending to be him in a sense. Yeah. And so it's like he is remembered as this tyrant, but also it's not actually him. Yeah. So it's, but no one knew that. Yep. No one knew any of this. Yep. And they're like, oh, this must be the Lord Ruler.
Yeah, which makes sense.
Yeah, and then it's like, nope, this is your boy Rashik, who's just been seething in the corner this whole time. Yep. And like, and I didn't even think about it. It's like, yep, and here's Rathith Rashik seething in the corner the whole time, and I'm just like, huh.
It's like, what's,
yep.
Yeah, okay.
Yep, he sure is, anyway.
Maybe this is why he hates Terracemen?
Yeah.
I don't know, you know.
Yeah, I was just like, maybe this is why he hates Terracemen
Yeah.
so much, and why he's like, oh, I gotta, like, subjugate them.
Yeah.
But then it's like, no. Turns out Rashik was just like, I have to subjugate them because I suck.
It's the next one. Though many Terracemen express resentment of Clenium, there is also envy. I have heard the Packmen speak in wonder of the Clenny cathedrals, with their amazing stained glass windows and the broad halls. They also seem to be very fond of our fashion. Back in the cities, I saw that many young Terracemen had traded in their furs and skins for well-tailored gentlemen's suits.
Yeah, and that sort of, like, informs...
I mean, honestly, like, the architecture of Luthadel, like, there's, like, in, like, the keeps and all of that, there's always talked about, like, the big stained glass windows, like, all of those types of things.
Right.
And then also, when we see the Lord Ruler...
he's wearing a suit.
He's wearing a suit. He's always in these,
Yep, in these black suits and stuff. Yeah. It's really something. And I was having a little moment just now where I was thinking about some of the, like, Rashik Terracemen stuff. And I think maybe I'll get more into it once we sort of, like, get there.
Yeah.
But, like, I don't know. I think I may be making some of Rashik's shit make more sense to me.
Okay.
Like, why he did some of the things that he did. Not in any sort of, like, he was right, you know, but just sort of, like, understanding the mindset a bit more, so.
Yeah. And so then, we are close now. Oddly, this high in the mountains, we seem to finally be free from the oppressive touch of the deepness. It has been quite a while since I knew what that was like. The lake that Fedek discovered is below us now. I can see it from the ledge. It looks even more eerie from up here, with its glassy, almost metallic sheen. I almost wish I had let him take a sample of its waters. Perhaps his interest was what angered the mist creature that follows us. Perhaps that was why it decided to attack him, stabbing him with its invisible knife. Strangely, the attack comforted me. At least I know that another has seen it. That means I'm not mad.
Yeah. Mist creature that attacks, and I'm just like, Mist Wraith, but it's also like, that doesn't seem quite right, but maybe, I don't know. Very strange. I don't know what that's about. Like, we'll find out.
Yeah. Interesting things.
Next book's called Wall of Ascension, so we'll get there probably.
Next one. I never wanted to be feared. If I regret one thing, it is the fear that I have caused. Fear is the tool of tyrants. Unfortunately, when the fate of the world is in question, you use whatever tools are available.
Yeah, and that was one where whenever we were listening to it together and I heard it, I was like, fuck you, man. And I was also like, oh, you know, you can see like these bits, these elements of how this man could end up being the Lord Ruler. Yep. And then he's not. And then he's just fucking not.
Yep, I'm there, like, biting my tongue, like, trying not to make any faces.
Yep. Yep.
There was a lot of that in this section of just me, like, desperately trying to...
not give anything away.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I just... Because I was like, oh, man, he's, like... I don't know, he's got this, like, utilitarian mindset that kind of lends itself to this idea of, like, oh, you know, if he has this utilitarian mindset and also the skewed view of how things are, because it's like, at one point he's talking about, like, oh, Rashik's, like, the Terracemen should be dominant. It's like, and the scary thing is I can kind of see what he's talking about. Yeah. And I'm like, you know, he's buying into this, like, might makes right mentality that Rashik has.
Right.
And so it's like, if he is, like, buying into that and also is, like, has this utilitarian mindset about, you know, like, oh, it sucks that I gotta use fear and subjugate people, but if I gotta, you know, it's like, you can see how he could bring himself to becoming the Lord Ruler. Yeah. But then he doesn't. He's not that guy. It's just a different fucking guy.
Yep. And then, I know what will happen if I make the wrong choice. I must be strong. I must not take the power for myself, for I've seen what will happen if I do.
See, I didn't put much into that, but, like, what does that mean? I've seen what happens. What does that mean? Does that mean that someone did before? Who? How? What? Was there a previous Lord Ruler, in quotes? Like, what? Are you taking this power for yourself? How do you know it'll happen? Anyway. Oh, there goes some pages.
Yeah, there's lots of pages.
There's a lot of pages.
Pages and the maps.
Yeah, well, the maps have already...
Yeah.
They've been gone.
I think these are the pages that fell out last time, too.
Gotcha, okay.
So, it's... Yeah. I'll put them back in later.
Yeah.
Anyway, next one. I've decided that I'm thankful for Rashik's hatred. It does me well to remember that there are those who abhor me. My place is not to seek popularity or love. My place is to ensure mankind's survival.
Yep, and that was another bit where
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah. That this is all part of it. And it's like, nope. Nope, not the same guy. Fuck me up.
Is there anything more beautiful than the sun? I often watch it rise, for my restless sleep usually awakens me before dawn. Each time I see its calm yellow light peeking above the horizon, I grow a little more determined, a little more hopeful. In a way, it is the thing that has kept me going all this time.
Yellow, not red.
Yep, yellow sun. Such are my fears as I scribble with an ice-crusted pen on the eve before the world is reborn. Rashik watches, hating me. The cavern lies above, pulsing. My fingers quiver, not from the cold. Tomorrow, it'll end.
Yep, and that was one that we heard Vin reading.
Yep.
We saw Vin reading it in a different chapter. And so that one's a bit that we're familiar with, and it's like, yep, Rashik's there hating me. It's like, I'm just like, yep, he sure is my guy.
Yep.
and now I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I see. He was more important than that.
Yep. And the last one before the epilogue. Oddly, on occasion, I sense a peacefulness within. You would think that after all I have seen, after all I have suffered, my soul would be a twisted jumble of stress, confusion, and melancholy. Often, it is just that. But then, there is the peace. I feel it sometimes, as I do now, staring out over the frozen cliffs and glass mountains in the still of the morning, watching a sunrise so majestic that I know none shall ever be its match. If there are prophecies, if there is a hero of ages, then my mind whispers there must be something directing my path. Something is watching. Something cares. These peaceful whispers tell me a truth I wish very much to believe. If I fail, another shall come to finish my work.
Yep, and see, I feel like sometimes we get that, and then it's like, but then they don't fail. But he did fail, and now someone else does have to pick it up, and it's probably Vin. I mean, Vin's the one who, fucking kills the Lord Ruler.
Yeah.
Since we're just going full on spoilers in this section. So like maybe she's the one, and like the next one's Well of Ascension. Maybe she goes and she becomes the new hero of ages. I don't fucking know. It's we'll find out. Rapho.
We shall.
Rapho.
Yeah, Rapho.
Read and find out. I'm learning. I'm
You
learning
are.
the things.
You are.
And
Yeah, I finished Stormlight, like the ones that are out, and I basically have the secret projects left to read of Cosmere stuff that's out. So I've been reading a bunch of like Word of Brandon stuff, and like
I want to see it. I want to see him answer questions about things because that's fun.
I've been showing you the like ones that are not spoilery.
Yeah.
All right. So we've done the epigraphs.
Yes.
So we can get started on chapter by chapter.
Yes.
And your notes and everything.
Yes, my notes and everything. Starting with chapter 31. My first note is love the crew banter.
Yeah.
Because the crew's all talking about something. I don't remember.
Well,
God, I don't remember so much because it's all just like... it's all just the very end stuff and this like banter bit in the beginning that I enjoyed. I'm just like, what were they even talking about? I don't know.
So I will say, like, we ended off last time with Vin killing Shan.
Yes, Vin killing Chandelario in a big old Mistborn fight. And I want to say, because I didn't get this last time, but we do get this, like, talked about somewhere later in this chapter, maybe, that Vin was able to, like, pierce through the copper cloud.
Yes.
During that, like, whole Mistborn
that's how
fight.
she found them.
And I didn't notice that
or
realize that. That wasn't something that, like, stuck out to me. But it gets, like...
It's a pretty, like, quick line.
Yeah.
Where she's basically, like, searching with copper. Oh, I can't feel anything. They must have a smoker. Oh, no, wait, there it is. And then it's...
Gotcha. Yeah, because I think that, like, it just assumed in that situation it was like, oh, no, they just didn't, actually.
Yeah.
And she was able to find them. It's like, oh, they must have a smoker. No, wait, there they are. And it's just like she just ended up finding them.
Yeah.
I didn't think, like, oh, she pierced the copper cloud or whatever.
Yeah, and it says she, like, pushed through. Like, she pushed, a little bit.
Gotcha. Yeah, and so it's like, so when that gets sort of brought up more expressly later. Yeah, it's like one of my, like, later in the chapter notes is about that. It's like, Finn went through the copper last chapter, and I didn't realize that until, like, she's talking to Kelsier later and, like, talks about it.
Yeah.
And so it's like, last chapter she did that thing with Shan, and also apparently did that copper thing, which didn't even occur to me to be like, that was weird.
Yeah.
Like, I just didn't realize that was what was being implied there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Tilly wants to come back in.
You're right.
So the chapter starts with, again, I said the crew banter, and it was them talking about
it's like, I don't know, Breeze would make a pretty good minister of sanitation, Kelsier said.
Yeah. So they're just kind of, you know, making fun of Breeze.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, and Breeze has a line where it's like, why am I always the butt of the jokes? And Ham's like, you're the best butt we have.
Yes. Because, my dear man, you are by far the best butt we have.
Yep, because Ham is doing a Breeze impression. Yeah. So we get to hear Michael Kramer do Ham doing Breeze. Yeah. And that's a lot of fun. It's like in Critical Role when we have Liam O'Brien doing Caleb doing a bad Ford impression.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. And then Vin comes in.
Yeah, it's outside. The outside kitchen door slammed open. Vin stood silently. Vin stood silhouetted by the dark mist, wearing nothing but her dressing undergarments, a flimsy white shirt and shorts. Both were sprayed with blood.
Yeah, Vin's looking rough. That's what I have. Vin looks rough, and I kind of killed Chanel Ariel.
Yeah, I think I did something bad, Vin said. I kind of killed Chanel Ariel. You did what? Kelsier asked as Sayzed tisked softly.
Yeah.
She was Mistborn. We fought. I won.
And then I have Vin is correct about clothes. Because she's, like, in her underwear, and they're like, you should put on, like, some decent clothes. She's like, why? What do you mean?
Yeah. What's wrong with this? It's not that I've worn... Oh, no. Is this going to be another episode where I can't speak?
Maybe. You gotta slow down.
I can't. It doesn't work.
And you gotta, like, pre-read.
Yeah. What's wrong with this? It's not that much more revealing than some of the thief's clothing I've worn. Those are undergarments, Vin, Doxson said. So, it's the principle of the matter.
Silly. No, Vin is correct.
Yeah.
Vin is correct in the situation, I feel. It's like, what are you talking about? Doesn't matter.
Yeah. And she was hit a little bit. Like, she's has a few, like, stab wounds and such.
Yeah. She is banged up.
Yeah, and tired.
Yeah, and there's a description that I liked. She's just arms and legs. Like, Kelsier's looking at her and talking about, like, how small she is.
Yeah. She looks so exhausted, Kelsier thought. She was such a frail-looking thing, mostly arms and legs.
Mm-hmm. Yep. She's mostly arms and legs.
Yep.
I just thought that was, like, a neat little description.
Yeah.
And then Vin has, like, a real...
Yeah, well, first, like, they're like, why did you, like, fight her? Why didn't you just, like, run off or whatever? And she's like, well, I attacked, like...
Oh, yeah, it's like, did she attack you? No. It's like, why did you attack? And it was like, well...
They were trying to kill Ellen.
Mm-hmm.
And then Kelsier's real pissed off about it. He's like, you, like...
risked this whole thing?
Yeah.
For
that fool of a boy.
Mm-hmm. Fool of a tuck.
Yeah. Yes, what's wrong with you, girl? Ellen Venture isn't worth this.
Mm-hmm.
And, he's a nobleman. So are you, Vin snapped.
Yep.
And then she goes on her tirade of...
She goes on her whole tirade. It's like y'all are you know, and the funny thing is, like, there's some truth to that. They do
Yeah.
have, like, some noble blood they have to in order to be,
Yeah.
like, Mistings and Mistborn and stuff. So, like, Doxin isn't, but also she's like, y'all are noble. When's the last time that y'all really, like, lived like Ska, having to, like, live on the streets, worrying about dying, all this sort of, like, shit. And it's like, y'all are
starving and all of that.
And just being like, you know, y'all are just like faux nobility.
Yeah. Don't talk to me about noblemen, and don't say things about people you don't know. You're no Ska. You're just noblemen without titles.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, she's a little upset.
She's a little upset, but also I'm like, fucking Vin calling them nobles is great. Like, I think
they needed to hear it.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. No, I agree, because like there was this bit earlier where I talk about like Breeze, and I say that like Breeze is kind of like faux aristocracy. Yeah. That's kind of like the air that he puts on. And that probably like pisses off these like Ska Rebellion people that he's having fetch wine for him. But it's like, no, like Vin's right, like they're all kind of faux nobility, being this like thieving crew. Yeah. Like they live much more well off.
And they have been living more well off for like quite a while now.
For like quite a while.
Other than, I mean, Kelsier's time in the pits and stuff. There is that.
Yeah, it's like lest we forget Kelsier's time in the pits. But it's really like a whole thing. It's like, no, y'all have all this like privilege, and y'all have like way more power actually with all this like Mistborn shit. Yeah. And like, you know, you're sort of your underworld royalty. Yeah. In a sense. Yeah.
So don't talk to me about, you know.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. About like the nobility and all that. Yeah. You know. Yeah. This Ska noble discourse. Because it's kind of like, it, you know, you can't tell Ska apart from nobles by sight. Right. They don't like look different, but there's almost sort of like a, you know, I think about like mixed identity almost, because it's like they are sort of like part noble, and it's like, well, are you more noble than Ska, or Ska than noble? And like, what does it mean to be Ska, and what does it mean to be noble? We have these categories as given to us by like the ministry and like the Lord Ruler, you know, but it's like, if Ska aren't really any different from the nobility also in a sense aren't really different from Ska. Right. And so it's like there can be good nobles. Right. Because they're just people. Like, we're just people. And so it's like, yeah. And that's not what she's like saying. Right. Per se. Right. But I think that's like, you know, it's not what she's necessarily trying to say in the moment, because in the moment she's just like mad and lashing out at them. But I think that there's like a little bit of like, kind of truth behind what she's saying. Yeah. Yeah. Yep, so then they go on she goes on the roof to hide for a bit. Mm-hmm. And like worrying that everyone was gonna leave her and all of that. And Kelsier comes up to talk to her. And asks what happened with Elend or whatever, and all of that, and sort of hearing her out. Yeah, and then she tells Kelsier like, I don't think Mare betrayed you. And that whole conversation. Mm-hmm. And then also I loved Mare too, even after she betrayed me. Nothing could change how I felt. And then her talking about Reen. Like, I loved him, Kelsier, Reen. Right, yeah, because she's still, and you know, she's like, I love Reen, even though he was like shitty and the worst, and I shouldn't. Yeah. I like kind of can't help but do so. Yeah. And I feel like that kind of, I don't know. I know of people who are in situations like that, you know, where it's like, you know, this person, this family member is just like awful. Yeah. But also I want to still love them and have a relationship with them. Yeah. And like, you know, you know, it's like she loves Reen, but also it's like, she's like, I know that I shouldn't. Yeah. Yeah. Because it was like, because it was awful. And, and he was the worst, but it's like, you know, you want him to sort of be better. And in some ways he was, but like, you know, just barely. Like, bare minimums. Right. In a sense. And I think he very much took out, like, his responsibility and stuff. Yeah. Like, on Vin. Yeah. You know? Oh, yeah. Took out his responsibility? Like, kind of anger for having the responsibility. Right. Gotcha. Yeah. Taking out his, like, frustrations and anger and all that sort of stuff on her. Yeah. Yeah, it's like I gotta
for
fucking...
like basically being like, I'm like taking care of
Yeah.
taking care of you. I'm like running from town to town.
Yeah, because like we're hiding from like the ministry and stuff.
Yeah.
Because you know.
Yeah. And I can definitely see that being turned. But not that I'm defending him in any way.
Right.
That's horrible. But
Yeah.
I can see kind of how that.
It's understanding, not
Yes.
like, you know.
Yeah. I
not
can see how
sympathizing,
that
but
would
just...
like turn him. You know.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a whole thing, and then yeah, because talking about the whole like Lord Ruler thing and Mayor.
Yeah.
Mayor not betraying, and it's like, you know, y'all he maybe just like knew that y'all were there.
Yeah.
And when Vin's talking about that Mayor didn't betray him.
Yes.
She's like, maybe the Lord Ruler just sensed that you were there, and she was the reason. Like, he said that she betrayed in the sense of like, she was the one
who like they like tracked or whatever.
Yeah.
Not that she like actively meant to.
Yes. And it was like, no, we had a smoker with us. It was a smoker named Red.
Yeah.
Which I wrote down for some reason. He was the one who helped us, and he was smoking us, and Vin was like, no, but like I think that he can just like get through copper.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, we fucking saw him do that when all the executions were happening, and for some reason, Kelsier just acts like it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Kelsier's fully just like, nope, that's impossible, and just acts like that just didn't happen, and is like, nah, can't get through copper.
I think only Vin like realized she felt it because she was like, but so like Kelsier was riding like everyone else. I don't think they realized that was like actually the Lord Ruler. I think they just thought that they were like it's just like his presence in general, not like actual allomancy soothing.
Yeah, I guess, but just like, I don't know, I guess,
because I think it's just like, oh, it's impossible to do that, so it's not allomancy or whatever. It's just, you know, like, and so I'm just trying to like.
I know. Either way, Kelsier's just fucking deluding himself.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
It's like, Kelsier, you know what the fuck's going on.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, no, you know, you just think that you should be able to feel it, so you do. And it's like, is that what you're telling yourself, Kelsier?
Yeah.
Because, like,
I think it's just like, because that's the like known rule of it. It's like it's impossible. So like, what do you mean?
Yeah, I know, but I'm just like, I guess it's just because we were in Vin's head and it was just so clear and obvious that that's what was happening.
Yeah.
That I'm just like, Kelsier, what the fuck are you talking about? Why are you just denying reality? You felt him soothe you.
I don't think he felt it in the same way.
I guess. But I'm just like, he did, he just didn't put it together.
Yeah.
I guess. But then it's like, why was he rioting everyone's emotions? It's like, oh, he's doing...
I think he was doing it also because, like, the executions and everything just, like, happening. Just, like, to bring everyone's spirits up. Not because of the soothing, because of, you know, the situation.
Yeah, it's just, like, you know...
You know, like, a sense of camaraderie, just, like, you know...
Right, no, I know. I'm just saying that, like, Vin... You know, Vin was like, he's doing it to counteract the soothing or whatever. So I guess that was just, like, her perspective on it.
Yeah.
But it's just... And so, like, there's other reasons why he could have been doing it. But it just... I don't know. It just felt so weird to me reading that section. Being like, Kelsier, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, you felt it.
Yeah.
So, like, yeah. That was just my feeling when reading it.
Yeah.
And it's like, there are reasons, but they feel bullshit to me.
Got you.
Not like you're bullshitting me, of course.
Yeah.
But just that, like, you know, I'm just mad at Kel. Like, Kel, you should have fucking known.
Yeah.
Like, Kel, what are you doing? Why are you being like this?
Yeah.
That's more what it is. It's like, I don't know. I'm like, Kel should have known. Not in like it's bullshit. How dare Brandon Sanderson do it this way? But just in a like, Kel, you fucking shit. Why? What's your fucking problem?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Vin is too powerful for some reason. And also she can feel pulsing in the distance.
Yeah.
And it makes me think of how the not Lord Ruler
Yes.
Yeah.
Said he felt pulsing in the distance.
Yes, it just reminds me of how in the logbook he's like, I can feel a pulsing in the distance. So it's like, what's up with that? What's up with that, Vin? What pulsing are you feeling, huh? In the distance? I don't know. And she's too strong. She's like weirdly strong, for some reason.
Yeah.
And they're like, why? What's up with that?
I did want to mention real quick that she gave the ATM information, House Venture secret to Kelsier at this point as well.
Yes. Yeah. She does actually. Yeah, it's like...
She's like, that's the House Venture's weakness is ATM.
Yeah, because they have that moment, and it's like, Kelsier listens to her about the, like, Ellen stuff.
Yeah.
And then she's like, I gotta be honest about this stuff and tell him, because, like, it's gotta happen. Yeah. And also, Ellen was like, fuck you. So it's like, well, alright.
Yeah.
I guess there's no fucking helping it.
Yeah. And she feels bad about
Right.
it. And she tells Kelsier, like, don't do anything unless you, like, really have to. And he's like, okay, like, unless I have to.
It's like, unless I have to, but also, like, you know.
Yeah. Yep, so then Kelsier also asks, like, basically, like, is testing her to see if she can feel through a copper cloud. And, like...
She can.
Like, he just straight up proves it to him, like...
Mm-hmm. Yep, it's like, you're doing this elemancy.
Yeah.
You're doing this elemancy, and then as soon as I started saying that, you switch to this other elemancy.
Yep.
And he's like, holy shit.
Yep. Tin, she said after a moment. Now Steel, you changed as soon as I spoke.
Yep, and she's too powerful for some reason.
Yeah.
And my note is, I think this is about her dad somehow, or her earring.
Gotcha.
Those were my wild guesses at the time. So it has something to do with, like, her dad?
Yeah.
Maybe? Because it's like we don't know about her dad that much.
Yeah.
Maybe it has something to do with the earring.
He is high up nobility. So,
Yeah.
like, they say, like, more, like, stronger lines are, you know, or, like, more noble blood equals...
Yeah, they do say that, and, like, because, like, later we get some of that in one of the later chapters.
Right.
We get someone saying that. And it's just... And the earring thing, because I was so on this thing about, like, allomancy and ferrochemy, and she has, like, this metal in her, and maybe she's, like, using it somehow to be... And I also was like, is her dad the Lord Ruler somehow? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I don't think that makes sense, but, like, why is she so weirdly strong?
Yeah.
Like the Lord Ruler is. Why can she pierce through copper like the Lord Ruler can? What the fuck is going on here? Yeah.
Those are a lot of great questions.
Mm-hmm. And then I guess we start getting stuff about, like, Ellen.
Yeah, we get into Ellen's point of view.
Yeah.
Because he sent spies to follow Vin.
Yes.
To figure out
what the fuck's going on?
Yeah. Oh, and they're, like, talking about, like, the attack and Ellen's point of view of what happened. He was basically like,
right. Oh man, this dumbass just fucking slipped and crashed through the skylight.
Your father's gonna be livid when you get back, Justice noted, still tapping his armrest. Ellen shrugged, though this comment did make him a little bit nervous, not because of his father, but because of what had happened this night. Some allomancers had apparently been spying on Ellen's meeting with his friends. What information had they gathered? Did they know about the books? Fortunately, one of them had tripped, falling through Ellen's skylight. And Ellen's first thought were the books, and he hid them.
Right.
In the confusion, he dumped them all in a bag.
Yep. It's like, oh, they tripped and fell through the skylight, as opposed to being fucking crashed through by Vin.
By Vin, yeah.
They were just spying on my meeting, you know.
Yeah.
They weren't gonna, like, assassinate me or anything. Oh, boy.
Yeah. And then he finds out that she is not from one of the other houses. She's from a ska thieving crew. And he's super excited about that, actually.
Yeah, he's super excited about her being part of a ska thieving crew.
Yeah.
In this way that, like, Jassie's is like, what the fuck?
What the fuck is wrong with you?
What the fuck is wrong with you? It's like, oh, thank goodness she's not just some other fucking, like, noble. It's like, wait, she was a ska. I could have asked you so many questions about the ska. And it's also funny because...
She wasn't trying to spy on me. She was only trying to rob me. It's a direct line.
Yep. And then Jasties is like, I don't think that's better. It's like I got plenty of stuff. I've got plenty of money. That doesn't matter.
It's only money, Justice. Money is kind of important to some of us, Ellen. Not as important as Valette. That poor girl. All this time she must have been worrying about the scam she would have to pull on me.
Yep.
And only you would be relieved to find out that someone was trying to steal from you.
Yeah, and Jasti's... So, like... Jasti's is like... I was right. I'm like, Jasti's, you were not fucking right.
And that's what Ellen said too. He's like, but you were also wrong about her.
Yeah, it's like, Jasti's, you were right only insofar as you were like, hey, she's suspicious.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's the only thing you were right about. Every other specific detail you were exactly wrong about.
And then I love this little... like, she's Ska, and she fooled me. Fooled us both. She acted the part of an aristocrat almost perfectly. And so then talk about, like, I could have asked her questions, you know.
Damn
then, like, if we can't tell the difference between Ska and a noble woman, that means that the Ska can't be all that different from us. And if they're not that different from us, what right do we have treating them as we do?
Yes. So that's my note, Ellen and the Ska, and then Jasti's, you suck. That's my next note. Jasti's fucking sucks, and I don't like him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because, like, I think he, probably after Ellen says that shit about the Ska, he says some shit about the Ska, I don't know.
He says, he basically just says, Ellen, I don't think you're looking at this with in perspective. We're in the middle of a house war, just, like, not really caring about it.
Right, yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, I think that part I was like, fine, whatever. But, yeah, no, I'm just like, man, Jasty sucks. Just like, fuck this guy.
Yeah, so, like, bloody hell, Ellen, Jasty said. Allomancers were listening to our conference this night. Do you realize what could have happened? What if they decided to kill us rather than just spy on us?
Right, yeah.
Which, was their,
Which is exactly what they were trying to do.
Yeah. Yeah, so then he just goes, home to his father.
Yeah, I think it's like, I don't know, maybe it's like the, yes, you're right. It's best if Valette leaves... anyway, anyone close to me will be in danger during the days to come. And then Jasty is like, you're hopeless.
Yeah.
It's like, Jasty is just, shut up.
Yeah, and then that's an optimistic way of looking at it, I guess, from him again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so my last note is Jasty's you suck. And then he goes, and then Ellen goes to his father.
Yeah. Basically just talking about, like, to Lord Venture about what happened or whatever, and Ellen's like, what are you hiding, and all of that.
Yeah.
Oh, and saying, and the man who fell through my skylight, dead, Lord Venture said, broken neck. That man was still alive when we fled. What are you hiding, father? The Mistborn, anyone I know? I'd say so. It was Channel Ariel.
Yep.
Yep.
Shan?
And then, you're right, Justice. I can't avoid politics by ignoring it. I've been a part of it all for much longer than I assumed.
Yep. Yeah, man, you're the heir to the house. You gotta realize.
Yeah.
Like, it's an important thing.
Yeah. Yeah, so then he's still just thinking about Vin kind of at the end of this chapter, and we can go on to 32.
Yep. There we go. Yeah, like I was saying before, Audacity sucks, and because I had turned Audacity on and then plugged the microphone in, it doesn't believe that the microphone exists. So I have to like go into audio setup and hit rescan devices, and then it recognizes that the microphone exists.
Got you.
Right.
Yeah. So we're back after like a week or so, actually.
Yeah, I was not having a good time. My sinuses were acting up and I couldn't breathe through my nose and stuff. So it's like, we'll record the rest of this later.
Yeah, and the dogs were acting up and...
Yeah, the dogs were acting up and stuff as well. So it's just been like a whole thing. But we're back now. Mm-hmm. And we got through one chapter in the Epigraphs last time. Yep. So like, hey, maybe this time it'll be different.
So yeah, now we're going 32 through the rest.
Yes,
so we'll start with
through the epigraph.
We'll start with 32.
Yeah, weirdly enough, my first note is spooks their best 10-eye.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because there's just like a mention of spook.
Mm-hmm.
coming to... Well, Vin is coming to meet with Spook.
Uh-huh.
And mentions that he's their best Tenai.
Yeah. And I have Keep Hasting is being destroyed.
Yep.
3 great houses down. And convo with Spook.
Yeah.
So it's like there's a bunch of like the sort of political things that are happening. Talk about, you know, how the great houses are falling and stuff like that. And her talking to Spook about using tin and how to use tin effectively.
Yes.
And like learning how to focus properly.
Yes, to basically tune out the background noise and focus. Hear everything, but only focus on what you really need to hear.
Right, because it's like tin suddenly enhances all of your senses,
Yep.
and so you gotta learn how to like focus and not just get overwhelmed by the like sensory overload.
If you want to be good at burning tin, she thought, translating as best she could, learn to deal with distraction. It isn't about what you see, it's about what you can ignore.
Yep. And
the way he said it was, when burning, everything comes, lots of everything. Distractions here, there, ifing the power once, ignoring the distractions of both.
yeah, if you want the power, you gotta ignore the distractions of both. Ifing the power you want. Maybe one of these days I'll figure out Spook's, like, his Spook speak, you know. But,
Eastern street slang.
Eastern street slang.
I knew it was coming. You started doing the rhythm for it.
Oh yeah, it's anytime something's in that rhythm I have to. It's like burned in my brain. But yeah, Vin's off with Kel. Vin's gonna go off with Kel to go see Marsh.
Yeah, real quick, before we leave this scene with Spook, she tells him that she's not interested.
Right.
Even though her and Elend had that argument or whatever, and she's like, "Thank you, but I'm not interested.
Right.
But can I keep the handkerchief? I still like you. I like you as friends."
Yeah, and Spook's like, "Yeah, no,
I figured."
yeah, I knew that that wasn't really gonna happen, but like, you know, you gotta try. So it's like, you know, they can still be friends.
Yeah,
which is nice.
it's a good conversation and makes things clear and you know.
Right. And then Kel.
Yes. I did also want to mention with Spook that he snapped when he was 5. Just I highlight that.
Gotcha. Yeah.
As
interesting.
Yeah, and his I don't think they say anything more of that, so I'll just leave it.
Alrighty. Yeah, cause you've got knowledge. You're so excited for the next book.
Yeah, I'm very excited for the next book and the rest of the series. And I've been watching my own set of podcasts on like Stormlight Archive and Cosmere, and I'm actually in the about 3/4 of the way done with rereading Way of Kings because I have a problem. But let's not worry about that. Let's get back to this.
Yeah. So
Kelsier. Now we're with Kelsier.
Now we're with Kelsier because we're gonna go see Marsh.
Yes.
Is the plan.
Right.
Yeah, because it's like, all right, let's go meet up with Marsh and talk to him about stuff, and then they like get there, and do they have any sort of important?
They have a conversation, basically about Mare, and saying like Kelsier saying like thank you for saying that like that maybe she didn't betray me and stuff like that, and just kind of talking about it and like wanting to believe that she didn't betray him and all of that.
Right. Yeah, I remember that now.
Yeah, and her kind of realizing that, or it's, I like this line, it's just kind of seeing, like, her growth a bit. She says, makes sense to me. Distrust is really the same thing, only on the other side. I can see how a person, given the choice between 2 assumptions, would choose to trust. But not you? Kelsier asked. Vin shrugged again. I don't know anymore. It's like just that bit of growth in her willingness to trust in general.
Right.
From the beginning of the book.
Yeah, because in the beginning she was not really willing to trust anyone. Like she kind of like wanted to deep down.
Yes, but would not let herself.
Herself, right? Because of like, because like one of the first things that we see is her talking about like that one guy on the thieving crew. She like talks to, and
Ulif.
then Ulif talks to what's his face
immediately,
to Cayman immediately, and so it's like, you know, one of the first things we see is Vin like sort of being kind of validated and like not trusting people.
Yeah, and that's been her whole life with Reen,
Right.
and his constant talk of betrayal and everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And just being in thieving crews the way she was.
Right, but now things have changed a little bit.
Yes.
She's met some people who are actually like, you know, good, and that she can actually like put her trust in and feel comfortable putting her trust in, which is nice. It's nice to see how she like has changed.
And Kelsier also is changing a little as well, as he seems to be opening up a little bit to Elend, or the concept of that.
The concept of Elend.
Right, and him just saying, well, like, maybe there was a chance he was just saying those things to, like, not to, like, because he actually meant them, but to, like, get you out of the city to protect you and stuff like that.
Which we know is true because we've been in Elend's head.
Yeah.
But yeah, and so then they get to the place.
Yes.
And it's like, Marsh. My note is just Marsh, and then a frowny face next to it.
There is one more thing before we get to Marsh. We want to get that. He's in the ska tenement, kind of. They visit the ska tenement first, and she sees Kelsier like talk to them and like help them. It's like, Kelsier, the Lord of the Mists, the survivor, and I come to spread hope. House Hastings fell tonight, and
right.
Just being seen with the ska and everything.
Yeah, I'd forgotten about that part. I had fully forgotten about that part because the thing is that like immediately after
is Marsh. So it's just like this big
thing where it's like, Marsh is fucking dead.
Yeah, there's a torn up corpses.
Yep, it's just like we just see this like absolute mess of a corpse.
Yeah.
Where we're supposed to be meeting Marsh. And it's just like, oh, fuck. And, like, there's a part of me that's like, well, I mean, we can't really identify the body.
Yep.
So, like, you know, there's the potential that it's not Marsh.
Yep.
But it's like, it's just, yeah, because it's like, we're, you know, we get there, and Kelsier has a very bad time.
Yes, yeah.
Is very upset by seeing this because like it certainly in the moment feels like Marsh is dead.
Yeah.
Because it's like, you know, especially that's what everything's like pointing towards. It's like at the time of reading it, I'm like, this is like I don't even know if I actually said anything to you at the time.
I don't think you did.
But like in the back of my head, I was like, you know, it's just kind of like a flayed corpse.
Yeah.
And the head might even be missing, I don't remember. Or like crushed or something. I feel like the head was like completely crushed or something, and I was like...
Yeah, so I can read it. The corpse lay near the center of the chamber, flayed and dismembered, the head completely crushed. It was barely recognizable as human.
Yeah. And so I was like, that could be anyone.
Yeah. The walls were sprayed red. Could one body really produce this much blood? It was exactly like before, in the basement of Cayman's lair. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so it's like, well, fuck, this is probably Marsh.
Yeah.
In the back of my head, I was like, I mean, the head's been crushed. We can't like necessarily identify the body, so there's always a chance that this is like a fake out. But like, you know, Kelsier starts going like. Getting really affected by this, which I mean, like, obviously.
Yeah. It's his brother.
Yeah. Farewell, Marsh, Vin thought, regretfully, following. Because Kelsier, like, leaves. He, like...
well, he, like, breaks down... Mm-hmm. And so, like, she has to, like, get him to, like, run out of there. She's like... Kelsier, like, we gotta go.
Yeah, because like there could still be like people around. There could still be like danger around, so we gotta like fucking get out of here. So they don't even have like, you know, the time to like process the whole situation. She's like, we're supposed to be Marsh here, and instead we meet a fucking terrifying dead body.
Yeah.
So it's like, it ain't too hard to put 2 and 2 together and be
Right.
like, Marsh is fucking dead and we gotta get the fuck out of here.
Right. And then they also find a wooden table leg with a sheet of paper.
Right.
And so
Yeah.
they grabbed that because there was a note that Marsh left.
Right. Yeah. Yep. So it's a whole deal. It was very sad. I was so upset.
Yeah.
I was like, no.
Yeah.
Because like Marsh is great. Because I've been talking so much in the last episode
Yeah.
about how like Marsh is the competent one
Yeah.
who gets everything done, and then this chapter is like, nah, bitch, Marsh is fucking dead.
Destroyed. Yeah.
Marsh is fucking dead as fuck. He still did it.
Yep.
He left the like message behind, and it's like it's all this sort of stuff. So it's like, here you go.
And he got like the soothing station like map out like a while ago, and like that was like a huge thing.
Oh yeah, it's like that. That's very important. Like, information to have.
Yeah.
I almost said big news.
Big news.
Because I want to call everything big news.
Watch One Piece.
our contractually obligated One Piece shout out. We made a contract with Eiichiro Oda. We channeled him in our living room.
I love it.
Just kidding. Anyway.
I'm gonna read just what Marsh's note was. I think that the Inquisitors suspect me. I've been asking too many questions, and I know they sent at least one message to the corrupt obligator who supposedly trained me as an acolyte. I thought to seek out the secrets that the rebellion had always needed to know. How does the Ministry recruit Mistborn to be Inquisitors? Why are Inquisitors more powerful than normal Allomancers? What, if any, are their weaknesses? Unfortunately, I've learned next to nothing about the Inquisitors, though the politicking within the regular Ministry ranks continues to amaze me. It's like the ordinary obligators don't care about the world outside, except for the prestige they earn by being the most clever or successful in applying the Lord Ruler's dictates. The Inquisitors are different. They are far more loyal to the Lord Ruler than other obligators, and this is perhaps part of the dissension between the two groups. Regardless, I feel that I'm close. They do have a secret, Calcier, a weakness. I'm sure of it. But yeah.
Yep, they do have a weakness. We shall learn a bit more about that later, but...
Yeah, and then the last line. I fear that I've prodded too much. The Inquisitors tail me, watch me, ask after me. So I prepared this note. Perhaps my caution is unnecessary. Perhaps not.
Perhaps not. Yep, so they're reading that back at the lair.
Yep.
And it's like, well, we gotta fucking bug out now.
Yep. Yeah, basically, like, Calcier says, tell Renew to pull out. He can use the planned exit story, and then tell him to come back.
Yep.
After
Yep, it's like, hey, fucking tell Renew to leave, but also get Renew back here. And it's like, why?
Yeah, but tell him to abandon his canal boats one day out of the city, then return to us.
Yep, and it's like, oh, that's interesting. Because, it's like, why? But it's like, oh, I mean, I guess it's like, it's safer to like make them think you're going one way and then go another way. It's like, why go back to Luthadel?
Yeah.
But we'll find out. It's we're in big Raffo hours.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, because trying to keep things sort of like contained to the chapter, but it's like, oh man, it's like shit really starts like happening.
Yep.
This chapter, it's like truly. The Sander be Lanch.
Yeah.
I
have another highlight section of Calcier. Calcier stood at the far side of the kitchen, back to the cupboard, reclining in his habitual position, but this time there was no levity in his posture. He stood with arms folded, head slightly bowed. His disbelieving grief appeared to have vanished, replaced with another emotion. One Vince had sometimes seen smoldering darkly behind his eyes, usually when he spoke of the nobility.
Usually when he smoked.
Ah! That was loud. Apologies.
Yeah, it's alright. Yeah. No, you're good. But no, he's really he's really feeling it now.
Yeah.
Are you feeling it now, Mr. Krabs? The spirit of rebellion building within you. I have Wayland written down for some reason.
Wayland?
Wayland. I don't know.
Oh, yes, because we Kelsier is going to the pits, and that's whose perspective we're in.
Right.
We're in the perspective of this guy in the pits of Hudson.
Gotcha. Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Right. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Because we see that first from his point of view, and then we get some of Kelsier's point of view at the pits.
Yep.
Yeah, because then he's I want everyone out of the shop, apprentices included, in 15 minutes. I'll meet you at the backup lair in 2 days. 2 days? Kel, what are you planning? They hit me where it couldn't have hurt worse. I'm going to do likewise.
Yeah. Yeah, it's ooh baby, it's Kelsier's midnight run again. Yep. it is interesting because it is, I feel like, kind of perhaps a parallel in a way. How it's like early on we see Kelsier go and like fight that noble house to like go steal ATM.
Yeah.
And now Kelsier's about to go to the very source.
Yep.
And fuck up all their shit.
Yep.
Real big time. General Chaos. That's
Chaos.
That's Kelsier's part of the plan, and he's about to go chaos all over the pits.
Yep.
And so we go to the pits, and we get the perspective of someone in the pits.
Yes, we get Waylon going down, and it's a good chapter, but there's not...
Right, because it's like we get to see just like how bad it is to be in the pits, and like, you know, the perspective of someone in there, and Kelsier just fucking goes in and wrecks shop.
Yep.
Kills a bunch of people.
So, here, I'll,
Kelsier frees the pit is my note.
Yeah. Waylon began to climb out of the crack, one of dozens in the small, flat valley known as the Pits of Hathsin. Then he froze. A man stood above him in the night. He was dressed in a large cloak that appeared to have been shredded to strips. The man looked at Waylon, quiet and powerful in his black clothing. Then he reached down. Waylon cringed. The man, however, grabbed Waylon's hand and pulled him out of the crack. Go, the man said, softly in the swirling mists. Most of the guards are dead. Gather as many prisoners as you can and escape this place. You have a geode? Good. Break it open. You'll find a nugget of metal inside. It is very valuable. Sell it to the underground in whatever city you eventually find yourself. You should earn enough to live on for a few years. Go quickly. Who are you? I am what you will soon be. I am a survivor.
Yeah. Which is interesting because it implies that, like, the people in the pits don't know what they're mining.
Yeah.
You know?
They're just getting the geodes.
They're just getting the geodes and they don't know what's in it.
Yep.
And then that's where the ATM comes from, which is interesting.
Yeah, and so no one knows that the Pits of Hathsin, it's a prison labor camp. They don't realize it's ATM mine.
Yeah.
I think the only ones who really know that are the Lord Ruler, House Venture, and I mean maybe some higher up obligators and like inquisitors, but I'm not certain who would know that.
Right, yeah, because they've got like their sort of hand in like everything that like the nobility does, and, and like they, you know, interact with the Lord Ruler directly and like sort of stuff like that. So I could see them like knowing some of this kind of stuff.
I think maybe like the high prelans or something know it or whatever.
Right. And so then Kelsier starts fucking shattering the ATM crystals, which I have some like questions about because it's like, why does allomancy make ATM crystals explode?
Yeah.
And also it's like, how do the crystals make the geodes?
Yeah.
And my best sort of hypothesis about that is that there's metal that like the crystals contain ATM in them, the like metal in like metal form, sort of like with other stuff, and as like sort of water drips through the system, it sort of like forms like it some of it kind of, you know, it's like forming stalactites, stalagmites, and it's like it gets some of the metal out of the crystal and it forms into like the little geode that like grows over time. And so perhaps the crystals explode because when you try and pull on metal, it like causes the little bits of metal in the crystal to like try and move, and that causes the like and the crystals aren't like solid enough to like withstand that or something. I don't know. That's my best kind of guess. Perhaps they're like related to the mist in some way because we know the mist like swirls and moves based off of like allomancy or whatever. Like the mist is affected by allomancers doing their thing. I believe that's like a part of it, and so it's like, I don't know, man. This mist means something. This mist has something to do with something. Like, you shouldn't be scared of the mist, but also, like, the mist is something. Like, the mist is there.
Yeah.
The mist showed up with the Lord Ruler and all that stuff, and, like, so did Allomancy. And it's like, so what do they have to do with each other?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just like my fucking cork board with like mist, ATM crystals,
Yeah.
which also it's confusing that they're ATM crystals and then there's ATM the metal.
Yeah.
But that's very real.
It's ATM geodes with the metal inside.
Yep. But it's like, you know, because it's like the crystals are like sharp that they have to like put their hands into, and then they get a geode. The geode forms there, and then inside the geode is metal.
Yes.
So it's like the ATM crystals form the ATM geodes, which contain the ATM metal.
Yes.
It's ATM all the way down, and it's confusing because it's like, no, not that ATM, not that ATM either. This ATM, the real ATM. This is just the ATM geode. This is just the ATM crystals that form the ATM geode, etc., etc. And they're just these tiny little beads of ATM.
Yep.
They're so tiny.
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, those are my rambling thoughts about like what the fuck is up with ATM and these crystals, you know? So chapter 33.
Yep. Yeah, chapter 33. We're in Vin's perspective.
Yep.
And she's basically like, so that's it for the plan? Like, what's going on?
Right, because they're like hanging out at the like secondary hideout.
Yeah,
at
backup lair.
Yep, at the hideout.
Yep.
And they're just kind of like talking like, what now? And they're like, I mean, you know, like, Marsh maybe didn't sell us out, but like could have sold us out.
Yeah.
And like they could know all this sort of stuff. So like we gotta like be careful. And the plan's probably over. We gave it a real good try. Yep. We did the best we could, especially given that like so much of our plan got like absolutely
wiped out
earlier. So like, we did the best we could.
Yeah.
This was always a bit of a stretch.
Yeah. Yeah, and then she asks like, well, are you guys gonna do like another job? Like, what are you guys planning next?
And they're like, well, we can, we're not like a set crew. We can each kind of do whatever we want because we're so like, good at what we do. We can be discerning in our jobs. I think is how like Breeze puts it.
Yeah.
And so it's like, yeah, I mean, we like Cal, but also there's no guarantee that that's what the next job we're gonna do is.
Yep. And then Kelsier
shows up.
The splintery door opened and a familiar black clothed form strode in. He carried his mist cloak over his arm and his face looked incredibly wearied. Hello all, he said in a tired voice. I know that tiredness, Vin thought. Pewter drag. Where has he been?
Yep, he's got that pewter hangover.
Yep. And then he Breezes, actually, we took it for granted that you were doing something stupid. We've just been wondering how stupid this particular event would turn out to be. So what is it? Did you assassinate the Lord Prelin? Slaughter dozens of noblemen? Steal the cloak off the Lord Ruler's own back? I destroyed the pits of Hethsen.
What do you mean you destroyed them? They're just pits in the ground. What do you mean?
You'd think that by now we'd have learned not to underestimate him.
Yep. Yeah, my notes are, you're a good man. You're good men. Tilly, you can just come in here. You don't gotta bark about it. Yeah, I think this was a little bit like earlier actually. You're good men, even you, Breeze. I think maybe Dachshund was saying that. Because he was talking about like why Kel got them together.
Yeah.
And then I ended ATM for the next 300 years.
Yep.
Because it takes that long for the ATM crystals to grow back and start producing ATM. Which, is one of those things where it's like, we actually have an answer as to how they could possibly know that, which is that the Lord Ruler's been around that long.
Yep.
He's been around long enough that he could have seen that happen a couple times. He can just wait, which is crazy.
Yep.
He can just wait. It's like...
that would be like a big problem, like or whatever, like the pits.
Yeah.
But like He could wait.
He could wait. He can just wait for them to come back.
Yep.
Because he has all the time in the world. He is God, as it were. And and then I also have men who know how to take losses. Vin talks about how it's like they really are ska. They know how to like take their losses and move on. Talking about how like no, the plan's probably just fucking over.
Yeah.
Again, this is before Cal comes back. My notes for chapter 33 are a bit of a jumble because I went back and re-listened to chapter 33 onward because I didn't have any notes after chapter 33 before. So I redid my notes for chapter 33, so they're a bit like jumbled up. But then after that, I have like notes for the rest of the section. Because whenever we were first listening to it, I was not taking notes because I was too in it.
Yep, because of everything.
Yep, because everything was just going on. I'm like, oh man, it's like I'm taking notes and it's like, oh, they're back with the crew and stuff. But then things start to escalate in this chapter.
Yeah.
Some executions start happening.
Yep.
Someone runs in and is like, executions on the square. It's like Spook runs in and it's like, there's executions happening.
Yeah, first they talk, like, Kelsey's like, we got a lot of planning to do tomorrow, whatever. And he's like, we'll talk tomorrow. Mm-hmm. So I think... Oh yeah, I guess that happens the next day. Because Vin talks to Sazed for a bit first.
No, Spook doesn't come in and tell them that executions are happening. That wouldn't make any sense.
Right.
Because Spook is one of the people set to be executed.
Yeah.
I forgot. Yes, because it's like, oh yeah, they sent Spook with Lord Renew because they're like, we want to send one of our best 10 eyes.
Yeah. Here it is, yeah. She just asks him about the 11th metal, Sazed, and then someone runs in and...
Gotcha. It's like, have you ever heard of this legend of the 11th metal, Sazed? And he's like, no, but I mean, I haven't heard of everything.
Right.
So it's like, it's possible that this is like a real thing. And then someone runs in and is like, executions are happening.
Yeah.
Is it like Ham or someone? Or is it just
it's just
like...
a random messenger boy.
Just a random messenger boy.
Tase, apparently. Tase.
Alright. Fair enough. Yeah. Executions are happening and Kelsier's like, alright, this is because I fucked up the pits and so I gotta go watch because I am the reason why this is happening in like an indirect sort of way. Yeah. And then it's like, oh, would you look at that? It's Lord Renew and it's Spook. Ah, fuck. Uh-oh. and so then it's like, actually, I gotta fucking do something, like, right now.
Yep. I saw Renew and Spook in that first cart.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And they got the canal caravan, basically.
Yep. They got the canal caravan, and it's like, we gotta go fucking save them, and Vin is like, you can't, you're not... immortal or what, you're not invincible or whatever. And he says, you still have some things to learn about friendship, Vin. I hope someday you realize what they are. Yeah. As he goes off to try and save them.
Yep.
And Vin's like, you can't do everything. And Dachshund's like, but we're not powerless, dear.
Yeah.
So, we can still do some things. And so Ham runs off to go get reinforcements. Yep. And Kel starts immediately fucking shit up. Yep. And it's a big old fight time.
It's a great fight, but again, fights are kind of hard to like talk about in like a this type of format. It's a really awesome fight. There's definitely stuff to talk about, but not quite as much.
So my notes for this section, I have time to save Spook and co. We're not helpless either. The obsidian weapons are cool. Ham brings reinforcements. Couple hundred soldiers. Kel will just stall for Ham and then flee. which like is Kelsier's like intention.
Original plan.
But going back and rereading this, knowing what happens to Kelsier at the end of this chapter, being like, oh, don't worry. don't worry about Kelsier.
And he does have his backup plan like ready. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't want to die in this
altercation. But he is which actually that doesn't even happen in this chapter. That's not until next chapter.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's Breeze is helping by soothing enemy soldiers, and I really like that scene where, because I love when Breeze soothes people, he's always like talking to himself.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, soothe everything except for the fear. There's a Mistborn and a Steel Inquisitor fighting right in front of you. You don't want to get involved in that.
Yeah, here it is. To her side, Breeze was mumbling to himself. Yes, you're afraid. Let's focus on that. Soothe everything else away. Leave you terrified. That's an Inquisitor and a Mistborn fighting. You don't want to interfere with that. Yep.
And then the guy drops his weapon and
just,
runs. And then I have Ellen joins the fray.
Yeah.
Valette. And Ellen's just like, I gotta fucking save Valette.
It's so sweet.
It's
like,
so
what is
sweet.
he gonna do? What are you gonna do,
What are you
Ellen?
gonna do, my guy? And then Kelsier's like, what the fuck? What the fuck? And the Steel Inquisitor provokes Kel into continuing to fight by killing other people. The Steel Inquisitor starts like killing other people and attacking other people to get Kel to actually like stay and continue fighting, because Kel's like trying to like not do that. And so it's like, fine, you want to fight? We'll fight.
Yeah.
And this Inquisitor was one of the same Inquisitors from Credit Shaw when he broke in.
Yep.
And it's like, how was it you? And he was like, I drew the the straw or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, I won the lottery, essentially. I won the draw. That's what it was. That's what he says. And that's chapter 33. That's what I have for chapter 33 anyway.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, fighting is happening, and then we get into chapter 34, where my first note is Kel v. Inquisitor.
Yeah.
Kel holds himself in the center of a steel cage with allomancy to protect himself, and that's really cool.
Yeah.
Where he's like suspended in the middle because he's pushing out on the cage on all sides, so he just like sits in the middle, and then whenever it hits the wall, he kind of like is like cushioned in a sense, and I'm like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah, he's crazy good at pushing and pulling. That's like his thing.
That's his specialty, and
you get to see that like on full display here.
Yep, because Vin makes a comment about that, about how steel pushing and iron pulling are his specialties, and they're what, and he was the one who taught her about those things, and all the other ones taught them their specialties, but his specialty was that, and he taught her that, and so it's like, it's a whole thing. Ellen is still looking for Valette, run into Renew, and is saved by Kelsier. Kel lets Ellen know Vin is safe, so he can leave. Renew pretending to die is hilarious. Because, like, Renew gets, like, axed in the back by the Inquisitor.
Yep. And then looks over at Kelsier.
And then looks over at Kelsier, and Kelsier, kind of gives him, like, a look to indicate...
like yeah, that would kill you. Yeah, just die.
He says, like, just die. And then, like... And then Renew, like, falls and, like, pretends to die. And yeah, Doxson has some sort of comment about, it's like, that may or may not be fatal for him. I don't know enough about Kandra, and Vin is just like, what? What? Yeah, that may or not be fatal. I don't know much about Kandra. Kandra?
Yeah, here it is. The creature met Kelsier's eyes and smiled, then dropped from the top of the cage and buried an axe in Renew's back. The Kandra jerked, eyes opening wide. The Inquisitor turned toward Ellen next. Oh, no, it's not this part. It's later.
Yeah, no, it's like that happens, and then like a little bit later, Renew looks to Kelsier, and Kelsier's like, yeah, just back dead.
Oh, here it is. Yeah. Kelsier pushed against the soldier, flipping himself up as well. To his side, he saw Renew leaning against the cart. Kelsier caught the Kandra's eyes and nodded slightly. Renew dropped to the ground with a sigh, axe in his back. Kelsier! Ham yelled. Go, Kelsier told him, Renew's dead.
Renew's dead. Gotta keep up appearances.
I love it. With a sigh.
Yes.
Fine.
Kel blinds the Inquisitor with atium shadows, where it's like he is pushing the metal all over the place, and because he's using atium, there's like him pushing it in all sorts of directions.
Yep.
And so it's like he can't. So like the Inquisitor can't
really see. Yeah, it's just everywhere.
Because there's like atium shadows everywhere, and there's coins everywhere, and also like the lines are everywhere. Yeah. Kel's specialty is steel and iron. Kel hammers the nail in its heads into a wooden cart.
Yep.
So Kelsier like gets like a rock or something. He gets something, and like whenever the Inquisitor gets like knocked up against the cart, he just like hammers onto the like spikes in its eyes to like fucking hammer it into
the cart.
Into the cart, which is like, oh my god, that's so good.
Yep.
I'm glad you talked me into this.
Yep. Anyways, he hit the Inquisitor. Oh wait, a cobblestone. That's what it is.
Yeah.
He hit the Inquisitor square in the eyes. The creature's head snapped back, smacking against the bottom of the overturned cart. Kelsier struck again, yelling, repeatedly smashing his cobblestone into the creature's face. And then, it gets pounded in. I'm glad you talked me into this, he said quietly. Then he's strung with a two-handed blow, slamming the axe head through the Inquisitor's neck and into the wood behind.
Yep, so, yeah, because Cal got his obsidian axe, got the Inquisitor's obsidian axe, and then fucking decapitates the Inquisitor and kills it. That actually does kill it. And Cal inspires the masses and thinks maybe things don't have to go quite as he planned. He's like, oh man, everyone's like so inspired by me killing this Inquisitor, and they're like fucking going crazy, and he's like, oh, maybe things don't have to go as planned. He's like, maybe I don't have to die in order for them.
Right, yeah. Maybe this doesn't have to go the way I assumed, Kelsier thought triumphantly. Maybe I don't have... Then it struck. And that's when the Lord Ruler shows up.
Yep, the Lord Ruler appears. He looks like a man. He wears a black and white uniform that looks like a noble's suit, but exaggerated. Yeah. It's,
Yep. The coat reached all the way to his feet.
Mm-hmm. He looked like a man.
Yep.
And he looks younger than Kelsier. And then two Ska run up with spears.
Yep.
And run him through with the spears, and he doesn't even react.
Yep.
He just, like, has the spears lodged into him as he, like, walks up to Kelsier.
Yeah.
And then he speaks, and...
It was so good!
Yeah, he speaks, and, like, we're listening to this, and we were listening to this at, like, a slightly increased speed. Mm-hmm. And I went and, like, he started speaking, and I went back, and I, like, slowed it down, because I wanted to hear, like, the one-time speed, to hear what, like, the Lord Ruler's voice sounded like, how Michael Kramer does the voice, and I'm like, he sounds kind of like he sounds kind of like he has like a Terrace accent. He sounds kind of like Sazed. Like, not exactly, but like he kind of like sounds like that.
And she said that, and I was over here just dying. I like literally like just biting my tongue and like trying not to to react to, because like you were like, it really sounds Terrace, and just like really like focusing on it for a second.
Right, and it's like. And it's just so funny, and we'll find out why that's funny later, of course. But it's like, it's like, oh, well, it's like the language is like a dialect of Terrace for some reason. So like, I don't know. I wonder what's up with that. But I pretty quickly moved on from that because the Ko gives a speech about being hope and unkillable, and then gets backhanded so hard he dies. And then the Lord Ruler puts one of the spears right through his heart. He pulls one of the spears out of his own body, and stabs it through Kelsier, and then it's like let the killings continue, let the executions continue, and everyone fucking panics.
Yeah.
There's almost nothing left on like the side of Kelsier's face that got fucking smacked. He just got absolutely flung by like a single strike.
Absolutely.
And I was not expecting it. I was expecting a bit more of a showdown between Kelsier and the Lord Ruler, but no. He just gets absolutely annihilated immediately.
Just boom. Just a smack.
Just And there he goes, and Vin has to get carried away by Ham.
Yeah.
Because she's there with Kelsier, and it's like, he left me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because...
See, I told you he would leave you. I warned you. I promised you.
Yep. Yeah, and it's real sad.
Yeah,
it's so sad.
It is.
It's like, it seemed like, oh shit, it's like happening. It's like, does Kelsier have the medal? What's gonna happen? Is the medal gonna do anything?
Right.
Is there gonna be some kind of showdown between Kel and the Lord Ruler? Like, I'm like, I could see Kel dying, but I thought that he was just gonna like have more of a fight than that. I was like, do something with the medal, and then he just gets smacked. And it's just gone immediately.
Yep.
And I'm like, oh my god, I was not expecting that.
Yeah.
And that ends part 4.
That ends part 4.
It's the end of part 4.
With Kelsier.
With Kelsier just straight up dying,
Yep.
like immediately. And the next part 5, is Believers in a Forgotten World, which, you know, is good. It's you know, fitting with the whole thing with, like, you know, Kelsier and Mayor's wish for the world and all that sort of stuff. And so it's kind of like, you know, Kel's and Mayor's like continuing like legacy kind of after death in this next part as they figure out what to do.
Yep.
And yeah, because it's chapter 35 now. And Vin is floating in the mist, thinking about Kelsier.
Yep.
Yeah, just like...
And about trust and betrayal and all of that.
Set down 3 coins and just sort of floated up into the mist on like a little tripod, like he taught her.
Yeah.
And one of the coins is the twisted up coin that they got in the pushing match with earlier on, and it's just like... Vin's just really going through it. She's having to, like, think up there. She's real shook. And there's a lot of, like, little sad details.
Yeah. Kind of her grieving and such. And And she starts to talk to Sazed.
Yep. They talk about, you know... Sazed starts talking about, like, I'll have to come back here and collect the stories about Kel. It's like, you collect stories about Cell? I record all religion.
Yep.
Tilly, what is your deal?
She's a barky girl today.
But yeah, and Sazed's like, they're talking about the plan, and Sazed's like, maybe we just don't understand the plan.
Yeah.
Which you know, feels Christian-y, you know, with the whole, it's like, understanding God's plan.
Yeah.
It's
like beyond us or whatever.
Right, and it's like sometimes bad things happen, but it's all part of God's plan in the end, you know. And you know, in this case, you know, there does end up being more of a plan. But I wrote down a line that I liked. He was no prophet or God. He was just a man. So many of them are, I think.
I was just about to read. To read that,
because Vin says he was no prophet or a god. He was just a man, and Sazed says so many of them are. I think. Yeah. Which is just, I mean, it's so interesting coming from, like, because you know, Brandon Sanderson he's a Mormon, and it's like, this is like well known. He is like a religious man.
Yeah, and it's known that his faith is very important to him.
Yeah, and so for him to in this book be like, you know, so many of these prophets, gods, holy people are just men. They're just regular people, but that's like okay. Yep. You know, it's like, that doesn't make it sort of like less special in a way. And it's like, you know, believing in it can still have like meaning. Right. And you know,
you can get inspiration from.
Right. Yeah.
From like, even like exaggerated or like.
Right.
I don't know. It's interesting because like Kelsier did do a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And but like also
a lot of stories are just like stories and
right,
exaggerations,
right.
and he couldn't do some of the things that he was trying to make people think that he could do,
right.
But he was actually like building this plan to try and like change things for the better
right,
for them and all
right.
this sort of stuff.
And
so,
he did care about them and and everything.
Yep.
So yeah, so it's very interesting.
It's super interesting to like get it's like a sort of a secular view on religion, but from someone who is still religious.
It's one of the most fascinating aspects to me of Sanderson's just general work.
Right.
It's a common theme that he really, really likes.
Yeah.
But it doesn't seem to get old because he's explored it in so many different ways. And it's really fascinating. Like,
Yeah, and I'm really curious to get into that, to like once we start getting into the later books, because this is like, being the first one that I've read, I'm curious to see how the other ones are also like that, but also how they're like different.
Yeah.
Yeah,
to see kind of his themes and like as a whole and stuff.
Right, because you talk about how it's like this is a sort of a common theme, a repeating theme for him, but he comes at it from these different angles, and so like I'm curious as to like, is it gonna, feel that way for me? Am I gonna get like tired of it at all or anything like that? Like what are these new fresh ways he's gonna like come at it? I'm curious to see, because like so far he's really like, I mean with this one he's really gotten me, like he has earned my trust in a sense, right? Because he'll get you out of left field for sure.
He really will.
In a way that like, because people often talk about that, and I've mentioned this before, it's such a thing with like Game of Thrones. People talk about George R. R. Martin and Game of Thrones and how it does that, but I feel like, and like it does, but it's also like, I always felt like that aspect of it was a little bit kind of overhyped, a little oversold, that like Song of Ice and Fires, the series where like things happen out of left field that you weren't expecting, because like it does happen. There are characters who like die that you thought were going to be more important than that, things like that. But it's like a lot of it I feel like, no, that makes sense. And this all makes sense too, but I find it like a bit more surprising sometimes. Like the big surprise with Game of Thrones was right in the beginning when Ned Stark gets killed, and everyone's like, oh, we thought that he was like the protagonist, and it's like, no, this is not a series with like a singular protagonist. This is like with many protagonists, with many people that we're like following, and then from then on I feel like it kind of like it stays that way. And like we do at like the very end of the last book get Jon Snow maybe dying, but it's like a lot of these characters, it's like I'm not too worried. Like, I'm not going to be worried about Dany dying until, like, the last book or something like that. And, like, it's possible that, like, it could happen earlier, because anything could happen in these books. But it's just, like, I was not expecting Kelsier to die that quickly. I was like, holy shit, Marsh is dead. Wasn't expecting that. Shit like that. I feel like there are these ways that it's been, like, that's not how these books have been sold to me. Like, the only thing that I knew about Brandon Sanderson going in was just that, like, oh, magic system. Hard magic. He's really good at, like, world building and, like, metals. Pushing and pulling, and that's literally it. That's literally all that I knew. But then to be like, oh, no, actually there's, like, all this, like, surprising twists and like being so engaged and being like, oh, I just want to keep reading more, it's like, and I hear more of that, like, now that I'm a bit more closer, like, from being like the very periphery of hearing about Sanderson to like, oh, I'm engaging in Sanderson's work now, and like hearing stuff from you and what you say other people say and things like that, it's like I can get a bit more of the like, oh yeah, he is known for like that, from that like the twists and the keeping you reading, but twists that are actually like good twists, not just like twisty twists for the sake of twisting you, which is what the Game of Thrones show ended up getting known for, which is like, and
Sanderson's talked about that a little bit, about kind of like talking about like not wanting to do twists for twist's sake, and like also like wanting to make sure that his twists are set up and stuff like that, so it's satisfying to go back and on a reread and stuff like that. And also he mentioned like he's like sometimes it's difficult because like he'll be in the middle of a series and he's like he wants to put enough foreshadowing and enough like setup in so that you can like it feels satisfying, but also like it's gonna be a couple years, so there's time for people to like
to like sort of
and he's like kind of talks about like not getting into the mind space of just like trying to like fans think it's this, so I'm gonna change it because that would be unsatisfying. And it's like, no, that would be more unsatisfying because like it's going against the setup. And he seems to really know and understand that in like the interviews and in reading what I've read of his and stuff.
Which is so interesting considering that's also a thing that like George R. R. Martin has talked about explicitly. There's like a bit where he's talking about like, you know, if I've been writing a mystery series where the plan at the end is that the butler did it, and earlier on, you know, people are speculating that the butler did it, that means that like I did a good job, you know, foreshadowing and hinting that the butler's gonna do it. You know,
exactly.
It doesn't mean that I should make it so that the butler doesn't do it because it'll be more surprising. So it's like just funny how like Game of Thrones and like gets this reputation. And it's just like, it's like they both have a good understanding of it.
They do.
It's just like, you know, but Tilly needs to.
I'm gonna go let her out real quick.
Yeah, because
she's been barking.
Yeah, she's like, I need to go all the way outside, actually. Kicking a plastic bag around. But yeah, so that was. Oh yeah, no, we weren't at the end of a chapter. We were just
just went on a tangent.
We just went on a tangent in the middle.
It was good though.
It was good, yeah, because it's Sazed and Vin talking about religion and stuff. Maybe we just don't understand the plan.
Yes,
no
and
prophet.
talking about
it's like
Kelsier.
Yes.
My brain died.
Yeah.
I was trying to say Kelsier. I was trying to think of Kelsier's name, and I could only think of Kaladin.
Yeah. I wondered if that's what it was, if you were thinking about Kaladin.
Yeah, it's a problem.
My next note is Ska Uprising Time, the religion of Kelsier.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, because the Ska are like out in the streets and they're like congregating and they're like...
Yep. Lord Kelsier fought for us today. He slew an immortal inquisitor.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And I have Ska Apostle Paul.
Yep. Yeah. What, Demu?
Maybe the one who was like, Kelsier visited me this night.
Oh, yeah. It's this guy... talking. Yeah. Fear not the mist. Didn't the survivor name himself Lord of the Mists? Did he not say that we have nothing to fear from them? Indeed, they will protect us, give us safety, give us power.
Yep, and then he's like, you know, Lord Kelsier appeared to me this night and told me, you know, which just makes me think of, it is Paul, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I tell you, friends, I tell you the truth. Lord Kelsier appeared to me this very night. He said that he would always be with us. Will we let him down again?
Yep, and it's like, but he died, and it's like, and we let him.
Yep.
It's like, we stood by and let him.
Yep.
Which is funny, because that actually, that makes me think of, the Proto-Men. The Proto-Men and their, like, fucking rock albums about Mega Man.
Mega Man? I thought that's what you were talking about.
Yeah, because one of the things in that at the end is that, like, Proto Man was supposed to like save the people, and then he died, and the whole thing is that like the people just like let him die, and that's why he like hates the people now whenever he shows up and fights Mega Man at the end, which is a funny thing to say about like, you know,
a Mega Man fan rock opera.
Yeah,
which is a great sentence.
Yes.
And also you've shown it to me, and it is quite good.
It is.
I think you've shown me like both. It's like two albums or like two things.
It is two albums. I don't know if we like listened to the whole of the second one.
I think we might have.
We might have. But
it was quite good.
It is good. Like they're very good, and they're really committed, which is like good. It's like you have to commit fully to the bit, and also it's just like the music's really good because they've got that like I feel like the second album is a bit more like sort of like more of a bluesy kind of feel to it.
Yeah.
Because it's like. Anyway, this isn't a podcast about the Proto Men, and they're very good. 2 albums. There's supposed to be a third one. It's not out yet. Apparently people have been waiting for it for a long time. They've been waiting for that third album, Act 3. Because, yeah, the first one was just the Proto Men, and then the second one was the Proto Men, it was like Act 2, Father of Death. Because the first one is then retroactively Act 1, so they made a sequel that's Act 2, The Father of Death, which is a prequel. And so then it's like we're waiting for like Act 3, which would be like a sequel.
Yeah, that's fun.
Yep. But they do have a cover album that they made called like The Cover Up or something like that, which I think is just a funny name. But anyway, again, this isn't a podcast about that.
All right, back to Mistborn.
Yes.
Actually, back to getting the dogs from...
Yeah, because Tilly's like, I went outside, I have to immediately come back in. Alrighty. So, my next note is Kel the Martyr.
Yep.
He died for them, and it's time for them to rise up. Ska won't rebel against God, so they need a new god.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep, and that's why he was asking Sazed about religions, especially religions that like lasted a long time or lasted through the Lord Ruler and stuff like that. Yep.
Which I made a joke to you that you were like, what? At the time. Where I was like, Kelsier can talk to Panic at the Disco. And you were like, what? And I was like, they have a song called Build God, Then We'll Talk. And so because Kelsier built God, that means he gets to talk to them. So that's my Panic at the Disco joke.
That's great.
my niche Mistborn Panic at the Disco joke. Yeah.
I think there's more crossover than...
Oh, probably. Yeah. And I mean, hey, I'm over here on the YouTube backend. I know that like a portion of our audience comes from Tumblr, from you putting this up on our Tumblr, and if there's one thing I know about Tumblr, it's, I mean, nowadays I feel like probably... I know that feelings on, like, Brendan Urie specifically have not been as kind lately.
Yeah. But people still like Panic, but not Brendan Urie.
Yeah, and it's funny because, like, the only Panic at the Disco that I really like, I know that first album. Yeah. I know Fever You Can't Sweat Out, that whole album.
Yeah.
All other Panic at the Disco that I know are just, like, the singles that everyone knows from the albums and stuff. And that
first album was... not written by him, I don't think.
Nope, it was not. It was written by someone else.
Yeah, Ryan or something. It's like the guitarist. That's like part of the whole like drama and like the whole like hatred for him now and everything. Some of it stems from that. Mm-hmm. And there's a bunch of other stuff too, but
yeah, because it was like he left, and then also I know that like a member of Panic, who I think maybe came on later and then left.
Yeah.
Is the guy from I Don't Know How But They Found Me, if you're familiar with them.
No.
There's a band called I Don't Know How But They Found Me, often translated or like abbreviated as like just like IDK How, like IDK How, and they're really good. They're really good, and they, to me, feel kind of like some of that earlier, kind of, pop punk, Panic at the Disco style.
Yeah.
But, like, I know that it's not the same guy who wrote the original stuff. It's a different guy, but it's just someone who was on Panic, I believe.
Gotcha.
And now has the band IDK How, or I Don't Know How, But They Found Me. And they have some songs that I really like. I haven't like listened to them a bit, but back when I was working at Domino's, I remember listening to them a lot. Songs you might know are like "Choke."
I'd have to hear it.
Yeah, you probably have to like hear it, but yeah, they're pretty good. And again, not related, but that's fine.
All right, back to it.
Yes.
Religion. Kelsier martyr.
Yes, Kelsier martyr for the cause. And they're like, we should go check out Kelsier's like place, like his place that he was doing informant work.
Yep.
because it's like near the secondary location.
Yeah.
Near the second hideout, and so then they go and like find all of his shit.
Yep, a bunch of like weapons and armor and like all sorts of
Yep. And Renew shows up.
Yes, Renew shows up.
Renew shows up, but he's Kelsier. Because he's a Kandra. He's a Mistwraith that grew up, so to say.
Yep.
And he looks like Kelsier.
Yeah. The creature looked at her. It wore Kelsier's face, but the eyes, they were different. The face didn't bear Kelsier's characteristic smile. It seemed hollow, dead.
Yep.
I apologize, it said. This was to be my part in the plan, and is the reason Kelsier originally contracted with me.
Yep.
I was to take his bones once he was dead, then appear to his followers to give them faith and strength.
Yep. I have written down Renew the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
Renews the Holy Spirit, and he shows up.
To
the ska to be like
to the first.
To the first, like...
First witnesses.
Yep.
Wild. Love it.
Yep. And so I'm like, does that make Kelsier the father? And if so, who's the son? Is that Vin? Is Vin, like, quote, the son? but then that would make her, like, Jesus, and Kelsier's more Jesus.
Yeah.
So, like, so Kelsier's the son? Then who's the father?
Yeah.
Is that the guy who, like, taught Kelsier how to do allomancy? That guy? Because we know his, like, name.
Yeah.
And he, like, talked about him. And I'm like, are we gonna learn more about him in, like, one of the later books? I don't know. You know?
So, I can tell you... There's a short story.
Right.
There's a prequel short story. I think we can read it after this book, but I'm not certain.
Is that the 11th medal?
Yes.
Yeah. Because there's like a story about like Kelsier getting the 11th
Yes.
medal, or at least that's what I assume it is, considering it's called the 11th medal.
Yeah. So we'll read that at some point. I have to figure out when it's.
Yeah, like when it can be read without like spoiling anything or anything like that. Yeah. So
it's either after this book or the next book.
Yeah, and so it's like I wouldn't be surprised if he was like in there.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, maybe, because I don't know, the whole Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, like, Trinity aspect of it maybe just, like, doesn't hold up.
Yeah. It's interesting, though.
But it's still interesting, it's just, like, I like, Renew the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mistwraith that's grown up, and I also have, what are you in this for, Kandra?
Yeah.
Because it's like, what does he get out of this?
And also, I just like, the description. Renew Kelsier looked at her, and then his face shimmered, becoming transparent. She could see his bones through the gelatinous skin. It reminded her of a Mistwraith.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he's just a fucking ooze.
Yeah.
He's just an ooze.
He's an ooze on some bones.
Yep, which is like such a good fucking like D&D monster.
I was talking about it with our friend Nat, who's really into D&D, and she had me send over the like Coppermind Wikipedia articles for Mistwraiths and Kandra.
Gotcha. So that she could like,
because I was explaining it, she's like, "That's such a cool D&D thing. Like,
Yep.
I love it."
Oh yeah, because it even like it is kind of similar to a thing that already like exists in D&D. Because there's like these like oozes that do like take over people, but they have like a like the ooze is hidden somewhere, and then they have like a tendril that like connects to the body, and so they're kind of like puppeting it from like a distance, and so it's like you have to like check and see if they have like the tether.
Yeah.
I ran a campaign one time where like the mayor was replaced by one of those, and so it's like there's like a drain in the floor that like
cool.
that like the thing like led down into, and then like as soon as they found out that like the mayor got replaced with one, they were like, all right, we're having an uprising, get all the like villagers in the square, we're having a communist uprising against the local wizards college. Because I was like, yeah, the local wizards college got overrun with mind flayers because they were doing some wizard shit, and they opened a portal, and oops, mind flayers came through, and the mind flayers replaced the mayor with like this ooze, and so they're like, all right, time to lead a communist uprising against the wizards, because this is clearly the wizards' fault for bringing the mind flayers here, so we're gonna kill them, but we're also gonna kill all the wizards too, because fuck them. And I was like, okay. There we go. Little did they know that the necromancer at the college had a clone hidden in the caves down, because there's a mine where the town got a bunch of their materials for spellcasting purposes. So if they had explored down there, the guy had a hidden sanctum set up with a clone ready, so that as soon as he died, he just comes back as the clone and can bug out. But the campaign never went on beyond that point, so they wouldn't have
That's so cool though.
Yeah, I specifically made this guy high enough level so that he could have the spell clone, so that could be a thing. And also it's there's a spell that you can do to make it so that passageways and stuff are hard to traverse, and you get turned around and stuff, and so it's if they had tried to explore down there, they could have maybe found his place, but would have been hard. And he would have just had all this I was just this guy's basically the wizard equivalent of a doomsday prepper. And so he just has this thing set up. But then the campaign didn't continue on past that point. They which is funny because the very last thing that happened was that they all leveled up, and that Evan I know that I offered him a level in Warlock because he communicated with the elder brain of the Illithids. And so I was I can if you choose to it's offering you something you can choose to accept and take a level in Warlock and have the elder brain essentially be your patron. And I don't remember if he took me up on that or not, but I think not. And then I think he killed the Ulithard with the poison that I gave him, because I gave him some stupid strong poison because I'm y'all aren't actually it's I don't know how well y'all will be able to do it against this. I may not have balanced this correctly, so here's some stupidly strong poison. There was a guy named Shady Tim who was, according to the lore that I was building, if the session had kept going, he was a fey being that gave him this poison and also some wine, and these wine skins that had very Dionysus coated stuff on it. So it's the idea that he was a fey trickster kind of being that's I have this poison and wine for sale. I'm just kind of sneaking around being a little fuck because it's that's my MO as a little fey thing. And he was Shady Tim. And he looked he had kind of a, I think he had kind of a plague doctor thing going on, because that's fun, and Evan likes plague doctors, and it's I think there's also a little bit of potion seller. Bring me your finest potions. You couldn't handle my strongest potions. But so it's here have this purple worm poison, because that's the strongest poison in D&D or whatever. Go kill these Illithids. But how did I get on there?
We're talking about Khandra and D&D. Sanderson is a big D&D fan. I was listening to something recently, and he was apparently an ending that he had for one of his campaigns, his D&D campaigns, he has been holding on to for years to put into one of his books.
That's
so I guess
great.
there's an interview with him talking to one of his friends who was in that campaign, and he was no, you can't talk about that story because that's something that
I'm gonna turn into a book.
He's no, I've been holding on to that one for a while.
That's hilarious.
Which is just great.
All
right, let's get back into.
Let's maybe finish this podcast eventually. One of these days. This one's gonna be a long one.
This will be a 4-hour one. We only have a couple chapters left, but I have a feeling.
Yeah.
Nah.
Yeah, so it's so what are you in this for, Khandra?
Yeah.
This isn't. I don't really think this is super a spoiler or anything. We find out towards the very end that Khandra are paid in Atium.
Yep, that's all they're paid in.
That's all
they'll take.
And it's why?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
What do Khandra want?
Yeah.
because they're not humans, but they're mixed race that grew up. What do you want? What are your goals and desires?
Are they just, like, individuals? Like, do they have, like, a, like, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, are they just, like, people?
Yeah.
Or, like, I don't know, because...
Do they have, like society at all? Or are they just lone, like, wolf type of thing?
Yeah.
Or, like, you know...
What's the fucking deal? And then my next note is bureaucrat, politician, general.
Yeah.
Talking about Doxson, Breeze, and Ham as, like, for the new government that Kelsier's making, because he has his, like, letter where he's, like...
kind of explains what this plan was and everything.
Yep, and Renew is, like... oh, yeah, because... Because, like, the thing that was funny to me when they're reading the letter is that in the letter it says that, like, it's like, that's what, something like, you know, that's why Lord Renew, like, got y'all and brought y'all to this location, and it's like the team got there early. Lord Renew didn't bring them to his base to find the stuff. Lord Renew found them there
because they had
because they'd already gotten there. Which then in my mind, because like I didn't like quite pick up on that the first time reading, so like listening through it the second time, I'm just imagining like Lord Renew at the second hideout, just like, where the fuck is everyone?
Like, I guess I'll head over there
and see if they're there. It's just so funny. It's just really funny to me to imagine Lord Renew being like, where the fuck did they go? I'm supposed to fucking bring them to...
Like, this is kind of important.
This is important. Like, this is like Kelsier's whole, like, reveal and shit. Where the fuck are they? And they're just over there, like, already having the reveal done. The DM has to hastily be like, Renew, get over there.
Kelsier would have liked it, though. The drama for him to just appear at the hideout.
Yep. And, oh yeah, and then at the end, he's like, it was a fun job, wasn't it? Remember that when you think of me.
Yeah, please remember that. Remember to smile. Now move quickly. May you rule in wisdom.
Yep, and I'm like... That part definitely, like...
It was a fun job, wasn't it?
Yep. Re-listening to that part, I still, like, got emotional about it. I don't think I cried at any point.
Yeah.
But, like, I was definitely, like, emotional about things. And yeah, it's like, it was a fun job, wasn't it? Remember that. When you think of me, smile.
Yeah.
That's what Cal was all about. That was always what he was all about. He wanted it to be a fun job. He wanted it to be a good job. He wanted everyone to be happy.
Yeah.
I'll tell Mayor about you.
Yeah.
She always wanted a daughter. Which is just so sad.
Yeah.
But like in a happy way, you know. The medal's safe, but it doesn't seem to do anything useful.
Ah, yes, the 11th medal.
Yes, because Renew gives Vin like a bag that has like a note for her from Kelsier, as well as like the medal and some other stuff.
And ATM.
An ATM, so that she can do what she needs to do.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, okay, maybe you were supposed to, your job was going to be to go kill the
nobleman, the rest of the...
the upper nobility, but you've convinced me that maybe they can live, so I don't know, do whatever it is that you feel like you need to do. And she's like, I gotta do your job, I gotta kill the Lord Ruler.
Yep.
It's time to fucking kill God. Attack and dethrone God.
Which, like, with Kelsier's plan and everything, like... He didn't expect to be able to kill the Lord Ruler.
No.
And, like, that's why he didn't
include it as
part of the thing for Vin. Because, like, the whole thing is he's like, oh, well, they'll have a new god to follow, so the Ska will do the uprising, and we'll have enough people to pull it off. But he was never... Well, I think he still tried.
Right.
Obviously. And he wanted to get rid of the Lord Ruler. But I don't think he ever...
Right, because like he burns the metal and he knows that it's safe to burn, but doesn't do anything useful. Right. And so it's like, it's like maybe this can somehow do something to like end the Lord Ruler, I'll have my moment up against him. And like, I could imagine in the moment he was burning the metal and seeing what we see happens whenever you burn the metal.
Probably.
Push is kind of like,
Right, because he did just stand there.
He just stood there and was just like, what do I do?
Right.
What do I do with this? Because, like, he'd probably burned it already and knew that it, like, did that.
Yeah. Well, he would have had to write this and say that he knew what it was. Or knew that it was safe.
Right, because he says that, like, he knew that it was safe, but doesn't seem to do anything useful, but he also doesn't say what it does.
Right.
But it's like, I imagine that he did know what it does, because, like, we end up seeing what it does, where it's like gold shadows or ATM shadows or whatever.
Yeah, it's like gold shadows, but for someone else.
Right, and so it's like, and so it's one of those things where it's like, what the fuck do I do with this?
Yes, right.
And so he's just, like, standing there, like, looking at the Lord Ruler in a shadow, like, and now what?
Yep, and now what? And boom.
And boom. And then it's all over.
Yeah.
It's all over. Which, makes me, because I was like, imagine if we fucking got that from Kelsier's perspective. And then I thought about Song of Ice and Fire again, because that was actually a really surprising thing. I got genuinely surprised by the Red Wedding, because I didn't know that that's what was about to happen. I just knew that there was a thing that was the Red Wedding. And that one was surprising. And you do get a major character's death from their perspective. like you are in their head as they get killed. And it's ooh boy, it is something to read.
Yeah.
And I just imagine, like, just like Kelsier just standing there looking at the Lord Ruler like, well, this is what it's all been leading up to. But yeah, Vin's job is to take over Kel's job, kill the Lord Ruler. That's one of my notes. As well as, because it's like, they're like, so what are we going to do about the Lord Ruler? And Dockson's like, we'll just, like, tie him up and throw him in a dungeon. And I'm like, oh yeah, just fucking tie him up. It'll be so easy. Just tie up the Lord Ruler and throw him in. Why didn't we think of that sooner? Oh my god. Fucking, like, I get that it's like,
Yeah. They haven't seen the Lord Ruler, like, do anything in their lifetimes.
Nope.
Like, other than, like, the systematic, like... they haven't seen him physically do stuff other than just backhanding Kelsier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just like, he fucking instantly, and like, don't get me wrong, it's so D&D to just be like, we'll just figure it out when we get there. It's like, hey, you know that, like, the big bad that you're trying to kill is, like, immortal, right? Like, you, like, what are y'all gonna do?
Like, what's your plan?
What's your, like, plan?
To kill this immortal?
And it's like, well, we can't kill him, but I mean, I don't know, we can probably just, like, incapacitate him or something. Just, like, we'll just, like, shove him in a closet somewhere until we can figure that out. And it's like, you sure about that? You sure about that, guys?
Alright, let's keep going.
Yeah, Assassin Vin, because, like, every
kingdom needs an assassin, right?
Yep.
That's the line.
Yep, something like that. It's like, something else every kingdom needs, an assassin.
Yeah.
Like,
It's like, right?
Right? Let's check out the secret room, because we gotta go find the secret room that they were trying to get at in Credit Shaw.
Yes.
To begin with. And so Vin's like, that I gotta go there, because that was,
I want to figure out what's in there. It's got to be important.
It's got to be important, and it is important, but it's just like all the things they think. It's like it's all there.
Yep, it's all there, but they just can't piece it together because they don't have, like, the right context for it.
Right. It's just like,
which is so cool coming back through it, right?
Mm-hmm. It is, and it's also like, the 11th metal does end up being, like, important and instrumental, just not in the way that, like, anyone would have expected.
It does help her, like, beat him.
Yep.
But
mm-hmm.
Only in that it tells her who he is.
Yep. And that's the end of chapter 35.
Yeah.
Or my notes for chapter 35.
Yeah, is her going to get her weapons.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, because, like, she gets, like...
the stone... She breaks the stone heads off, and...
Yeah, because she gets some arrows, she breaks the stone heads off, but leaves a little bit of shaft, and she gets some, like metal rings, essentially. And it's like, I wonder what's up with that. And then we get to see it, and it's really cool later.
Yeah.
So then we get to chapter 36.
Yeah, so then she goes to Credit Shaw, and she sees the, like, Ska guard at the front.
Yeah, because there's, like, a few of them, and she converts them.
Yeah, which I love so much. One of the guards lowered a spear at her, and Vin stopped right in front of him. "I know you," she said softly. "You've endured the mills, the mines, and the forges. You knew that someday they would kill you and leave your families to starve, so you went to the Lord Ruler, guilty but determined, and joined his guards. The light behind me comes from a massive Ska rebellion. The entire city is rising up against the Lord Ruler. I don't blame you men for your choices, but a time of change is coming. Those rebels could use your training and your knowledge. Go to them. They gather in the square of the Survivor. Goosebumps.
Yeah, well, because it's just like, it's so interesting because, like, I remember when that, like, happened, it's like, it feels kind of like a religious parable.
Yeah.
The way that she just sort of, like, you know, this powerful, mysterious figure walks up and just, like, instantly converts some people on the spot. But it's like, and sometimes those stories can feel a little bit, like, contrived.
Yeah.
But in this situation, it's like, because we have all of this context, and because we know that she essentially just walks up and cold reads them.
Yeah.
Because it's like, that's every Ska's story. And so you can just kind of walk up to any, like, Ska and say that, and they'll be like, damn, you right. And it's interesting, he, like, tears the, like, badge off, and then, like, goes with the other guards out into the night. Foreshadowing is the literary device. But yeah, yes, the Square of the Survivor, she calls it, because that's where
he was killed.
That's where he was killed. And my next note is Vin's arrow trick. Because she goes in and the Inquisitors are there, and it's like, all right, showtime. And I love it. It's so good. Brandon Sanderson has, like, so much fun with this, like, magic system and, like, fights and stuff. Because it's like, I'm not good at, like, visualizing these kind of, like, fights and things.
Yeah.
But I loved this bit where it's like, she has the arrows.
Yeah.
And she has these, like, metal rings around the shaft of it. So, like, she can push the metal ring, and it pushes on the arrowhead, and so it shoots the arrows at them. But because it's a loose ring, when they try and push the metal back, the ring just, like, flies off the shaft, and the arrow just, like, keeps going and, like, hits them. It's so good. It's like, oh my god, that's so, like, clever, and I'm like, how do you, like, come up with this shit? Because it's like, I don't know, coming up with that kind of, like, action type stuff, whenever I think about, like, how would I, like, write things, I'm like, man, I have no clue how you even, like, write action and stuff like that. So it's like seeing these little, like, bits, they're very cool. It's, again, it's like, it's cool action. It's kind of hard to, like, talk about in this, but it's like, it's just fun seeing Vin, like, go to town.
She pulls out, like, a bunch of, like, pewter to, like, mess up their eyesight.
Yeah, she, like, throws powder and, like,
pewter dust,
and all of the, like, lines of, like, the pushing and pulling, like, the metal lines that you see to, like, know where, like, metal is. It's like suddenly they're just, like,
everywhere. It's just overwhelming.
And so it's like they just can't see anything. And it's like, that's so neat, because it's like, oh yeah, to see these, like, lines to metal, that's so, like, convenient. But it's like, no, it's not just convenient, because it's actually, like, you see them, and suddenly they're, like, clouding your, like, your vision and stuff.
With so many sources of metal concentrated in one place, the lines would be virtually blinding.
And also, and it's also interesting because, like, later we find out with the way that the Inquisitors see that's, like, all that they see is like,
so that would be extremely blinding. It's just like, it's just a flash of light,
essentially. And so it's like, you know, to be a little spoiler, but it's also like, you know, there's no way that the Inquisitors, like, they have fucking spikes through their eyes. It's
they're not seeing with physical eyes.
They're not seeing with physical eyes, but we do eventually get, like, kind of an explanation on that, which is interesting. And it's, like, coming up. Because we get some, like, I'm looking at my notes, and I have so many notes for this chapter. I'm like, both of these pages are all just notes for this chapter. So, blinds them with the steel and iron lines. The final Vinfiltration is what I think that's probably this,
coming in and going into the building within a building and all that.
Rushes into the secret room. It's a foreign-looking, homey room. And then there's an old man in the room who's probably the Lord Ruler. You know, it's one of those things that's like, whenever it's first happening, it's like, okay, she gets into the room, and it's like, it's just kind of a room. And it's just like a nice room, like a nice rustic place.
With the, had a comfortable hominess. Sorry. The walls were decorated with odd trappings. Furs hung from most places. The pelts dyed in strange patterns. There was a few old paintings. Their colors faded. And then down... It was packed full of strange objects and decorations, such as the horns of some foreign beast, and a strange pair of shoes with very wide, flat bottoms.
Snowshoes.
Yep.
Yep.
And then...
it was the room of a pack rat, a place to keep memories of the past, which
Yep.
I'm like, and so like when I'm first seeing them, I'm like, oh, that's interesting. I like that. It's just the place where he retreats
Yep.
to be sort of home again in a way, which is like, it gives this like human element to him.
Yep, because we felt like we learned about him through the logbook, right? But then we realized no.
Yeah, and the thing is that like this didn't strike me as like odd per se, because it's like because like he talks about like, oh, this all started in like, the two rivers essentially. He was like, I was like a blacksmith's son or whatever, and
so like a homey room like this.
Like a homey like rustic cabin-y kind of place. I'm like, oh, it's his like. Remember who I used to be, and like it is still kind of that, but it's just like and then
a pivoting chair stood by the hearth, and it spun slowly, revealing the wizened old man who sat in it. Bald, with liver-spotted skin, he appeared to be in his 70s. He wore rich, dark clothing, and he frowned angrily at Vin.
That's it, Vin thought. I failed. There's nothing here. Time to get out. Yep, and it's just like, uh-oh, this is the Lord Ruler's here right now, because he goes here every so often, and you didn't do the fucking due diligence, the like work that Kelsier did to be like, well, he's not here today.
Yeah.
But actually, being here at a time when he is here is like actually the bit that's important. Because if they had gotten there when he wasn't there, they wouldn't have seen the secret of him sitting there as an old man.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, Kelsier would have like immediately, because like Kelsier recognized him, he's seen him before.
Yes.
And
Yeah,
so,
so
like,
it was- yeah.
if he had seen him in the room and saw him as an old man, he would have been like, that's the Lord Ruler, but, like, as an old man, what the fuck's going on?
Yeah.
But, like, he didn't know that, like, no, the secret is that you need to be there at the time.
At the time, to know the secret.
To know the secret, which is that he's making himself old in there.
Yep.
Old man in the room, probably Lord Ruler, just casually doing politics, because the Inquisitor gets her, and then
is bargaining to
the Lord Ruler to be like, no, let me hold on to her for a little bit, because I want to talk to you about taking over the church. And he's like, again, right now.
Yes, I want the church.
And Vin just like struggling and stuff, and they're just casually doing some politics, because to them it's like, who gives a shit about Vin? It's
Like,
she's
just like they're kicking while they're talking.
Because the thing is like the Lord Ruler the entire time, it's like he has no reason to be worried about anything. Worried. And it's like...
And he says that later, like in a bit,
Right, because like he doesn't know that the Scow Rebellion's like happening right now.
No.
But he's also like, let it happen. Who cares? Like, do you think that like it's gonna stop me?
Yeah. I've been around for 1,000 years. Like over 1,000 years.
Yep. And Vin burns the 11th metal and sees the shadow, the like ATM shadow, the gold shadow, but it's the whatever the 11th metal is shadow. Full beard, woolen cloak, content, looks like the Lord Ruler, and that's the image that she sees. And then also noble looking merchant type. She also sees like another image that's like a more noble looking merchant type next to him. I wonder if that's maybe... Oh, is that maybe supposed to be the shadow of like the Inquisitor?
Yes. Yep. Yeah, it's supposed to be the shadow of the Inquisitor.
Yeah, there was another unfamiliar man beside her, a young nobleman. He was a merchant from the looks of his suit, and quite a wealthy one at that.
Yeah.
I didn't pick up either of the times, like, oh, that's the Inquisitor who's, like, holding her.
Yep.
That's who he used to be.
Yep.
I thought...
Or could be.
Could be. Yeah, because it's, like... Yeah, because it's, like, these sort of, like, could be things. So I was like, oh, is that like another path that like the Lord Ruler could have been or something? I was like, oh no, this is the
Inquisitor.
The Inquisitor.
Next to her.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. And then we get Elend.
Yeah.
We get Elend perspective. Yep. Oh yeah, Elend internally. Be less racist, Elend. Because he's like because he has some thought about her as like ska, and then it's like, no, you gotta stop thinking about her like that.
Yeah.
Like,
it was impossible. A Ska rebellion in Luthadel? It was unthinkable. They didn't have the disposition to try such a bold move. They were just... Valetta's a Ska, he thought.
Mm-hmm.
You have to stop thinking like other noblemen, Elend. You have to open your eyes.
Yep, and so Elend, be less racist.
Yes.
And then Elend, are we the baddies?
Yeah.
Because he's like, I've read about this, and I'm on the wrong side.
Tamadre predicted this. So did half a dozen other political theorists. They said that the final empire couldn't last forever. Got it its head or not. The people would someday rise up. It's finally happening. I'm living through it. And I'm on the wrong side.
I'm on the wrong side.
I love Elend. It's like, no, wait, let me stay. Wait.
Are we the baddies?
I love that.
Yep, and so the Ventures are leaving.
Yep.
Lord Straff is like, alright, we're fucking bugging out.
Yep, I'm out of here.
And Ellen's dad is leaving him to take the fall because Ellen's eventually like, no, leave me here, I'm gonna stay here. And he's like, shut the fuck up, come with me. He's like, no, actually I'm like staying and I'm not just being like obstinate or whatever.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, you know what? Actually, fucking stay behind. We need someone keeping our presence here. So say hi to the Lord Ruler for me. And Ellen's like, ah, fuck, he's leaving me to take the fall.
Yep.
Which is just like, it is so interesting because then it's like, nah, actually Ellen's got the right idea.
Yep.
It's like you don't believe in Ellen, but you should have.
Yep.
Although of course you would hate the way that Ellen ends up resolving all of this.
Right.
But it's like, it's better than what would have happened if you tried to stay and do it. You fucking asshole. But you were like, nah, just leave it. Just let it all fucking collapse.
Honestly, they probably all would have died.
Yep. We're going to go turn ourselves in.
Yeah, he gets a bunch of soldiers from his dad to, like, stay behind. And he's like, yeah, that's fine, because it would be too difficult anyway.
Yeah, it's like, we can't move all those people anyway. And so it's like, leaves the soldiers behind. He's like, alright, go to house whatever, like Tikiel.
Likal.
Yeah, go to house Likal. And because it's like, but they're our enemy. And it's like, there's a fucking rebellion going on.
It's more defensible, just go there.
Yeah, just go there. And it's like, no, some of you stay with me. We've got a different mission. We're going to go turn ourselves in. We're going to go turn ourselves in.
Yep.
I love it. And then
we're back to Vin.
Yes, who's in prison.
Yes.
And Vin gets a new medal, and then they're like, burn it. And then whenever she burns it, all of her other medals vanish. All of her other medal reserves vanish, which is so interesting.
Yeah. Yep. And she had never heard about it. We've never heard about it up until this point.
Yep, and then Vin starts doing some allomancy theory crafting. She's like doing some speculation. She's like, okay. So there's like, they clearly have some secrets that they haven't been telling us. They have all these secrets about allomancy that we don't know. They have metals that we don't know. But also it's like, from what I do know, the 11th metal must be an alloy of gold or atium or something. Because it's like, you know, gold and atium are oddly paired. Yep. They don't pair like the other ones do. Yep. And all the other ones, they come in groups of 4.
Yep.
You know? And so it's like, these must be the time-affecting metals, and this must be like some sort of like alloy of gold, perhaps, that lets you see, instead of seeing like your own, because it's like, it's the external version of the internal gold one. Right. And so it's like you do it to someone else instead of to yourself. So it must be like some sort of alloy of gold, perhaps, which means that there's probably also some sort of atium equivalent, you know, which I wonder what that would be like. It's like you can see into the future a little bit. You can make someone else see into the future. I don't know. Like, what would you do with, like, you know, instead of the internal ATM, the like external ATM, or maybe ATM already is external because you're like seeing into the future, because like 10 is like the external one. Yeah. So maybe it's like, it would be like, I don't know, but not important. I mean, I'm sure it'll like get more explained, but Vin's just kind of like trying to work some of this stuff out. And so then she's like being taken to like go do this thing with the like cantons.
Yes, they want to like question her and stuff. Yeah,
and they take her to like the Lord Ruler.
Yeah.
where it's like the Canton of Inquisition and the Canton of Orthodoxy. They're like basically being like, hey, the Canton of Orthodoxy, the Grand Prelin, the High Prelin or whatever, has a kid and it's Vin, and the Lord and she's like trying to lie, and the Lord Ruler like gets this look and like looks at her and is like, you can't lie in front of the Lord Ruler. It's like the Lord Ruler can supposedly tell lies by allomancy stuff. He's like, he can see your heart and, you know, tell by its beating and stuff how you're feeling and that you're lying. And he like soothes her. He does this like probably soothing and rioting. Just sort of like fear, just like intense fear on her, and she eventually like confesses that he's her father, and the Lord Ruler starts talking to him, and it's like, you know, have you ever been with a Ska woman? And he's like, I had them all killed, and I just love it's like, you lie. Just the way he like extends it, and it's like he sounded almost surprised. But before that, whenever he's like staring her down, Vin has this comment about his godlike power. And like just feeling his full power and stuff.
Who is your father, girl? He asked softly. Despair twisted within her, grief, pain, a desire to die. The Lord Ruler held her face close to his own, looking into her eyes. In that moment, she knew the truth. She could see a piece of him. She could sense his power, his godlike power. He wasn't worried about the Ska Rebellion. Why would he have to worry? If he wished, he could slaughter every person in the city by himself. Vin knew it to be the truth. It might take him time, but he could kill forever, tirelessly. He need fear no rebellion.
Yeah, so I have, he could kill forever, tirelessly.
Yep.
And that really, like, just something about, like, he could kill forever, tirelessly. It's like, you can't stop him. It's like, he took 2 full, like, spears through the body and didn't even, like, react.
Yep.
He smacked Kelsier across the face. He gave him 1 backhand. And he was already dead without even having to put the spear through his heart.
Right. And, like, remember, Kelsier, I'm sure, was burning pewter.
Yeah. Like absolutely.
He wasn't...
Like, he wasn't just, like, sitting there taking it. It's like, the Lord Ruler can kill forever. Mm-hmm. He's just an endless... like machine, you know. It's just like I think that I feel like my friend Ethan would really like that.
Yeah.
I feel like he would enjoy some of the descriptions of the Lord Ruler and stuff. It feels up his alley.
Has he read Sanderson at all?
No, but like some of the folks in like our like group chat and stuff have been like talking about it.
We should totally.
And he's like, I might, because it's like he's like, I don't want to read like, it's like, because we've been telling him, it's like, no, they're books about religion, but they're not like religious books in that sort of sense, and like telling him about that sort of stuff, and he's like, oh, that sounds interesting.
Yeah,
so maybe.
Because is he worried with like him being a Mormon and everything?
Right, just like knowing that religion is a big theme, that they're going to be very sort of like, you know, religious books in quotes, where it's like,
it's not religious like theming in that way.
Yeah, where it's like obviously trying to like convert you or whatever, right? Or like secretly trying to convert you.
It's religious theming in just like that. Religions shape society in general. Yeah. And they can have like really powerful effects on people. Mm-hmm. And
it's a theme that he really likes exploring.
And he also he's written some of the best atheist characters I've ever read. He's written multiple atheist characters that I think he's done a fantastic job with. Yeah. And and that's still in like the religious theming of the books in general.
Right. And so then the Lord Ruler's like, all right, you can fucking kill.
Yep. Yep.
You can kill him. Tavidian. And so then, like, the Inquisitors just fucking pounce on him.
Yeah, that's, immediately 6 Inquisitors dashed across the room, howling in joy, pulling obsidian knives from sheaths beneath their robes. Davidian raised his arms, crying out as the Inquisitors fell on him, exulting in their brutality. Blood flew as they plunged their daggers over and over and over again into the dying man. The other obligators backed away, looking on in horror.
Okay, so a couple thoughts, because I remembered, and we didn't talk about this earlier, but I talked to you about it. So, the Inquisitors, how I imagine the Inquisitors. So I hadn't mentioned this part before.
Okay.
You know, like we watched that video by H Bomber guy about that one weird game, that like Russian game.
Yes.
Pathologic. Yeah, Pathologic. They're the like weird worm men who wear the like robes. Do you remember them? That's kind of how I imagine the Steel Inquisitors look. These like weird like robes and kind of like hunched over and stuff. But also, because I did tell you about this, Hanami from Jujutsu Kaisen. Hanami is one of the like curses, one of the like powerful curses in the world that like is like a being or whatever, and it has these like, instead of eyes, it has these like branches kind of like growing out of its face. It's like its eyes, and like I showed you a picture of him, and that's kind of how I think of the Steel Inquisitors. If you're familiar with Jujutsu Kaisen, Hanami is like this like white, has like a lot of teeth showing, has like these like black markings on him, and has like these like wooden bits like kind of growing out of like where his eyes should be. He's kind of how I imagine the Steel Inquisitors to look. Imagine him, but wearing the robes of those like worm things from Pathologic, and that's how I kind of imagine the Steel Inquisitors looking. But it's like the metal spikes instead of like the wooden ones. So yeah, that's just but like, and then they just like fucking pounce on him and murder the shit out of him.
And we also do hear that her brother, it's in this section, right?
I think so. I don't know why I did that. I don't know why I went to like, what was it, like Family Feud or something?
I think this Price is Right.
Could be. It's one or the other. Yeah, I think maybe it is in that section. No, actually, I think it might be in the next chapter.
Okay.
That they talk about it.
Okay. Yeah.
But it might have been in this chapter where it's like,
I think it's later on.
Yeah.
It is.
But one of the things that I like is that the Lord Ruler says, I do not make mistakes. I have never made a mistake, but it is time for a change.
Yep.
Which to me feels kind of like a poke at some of the ways people will be like, why is it that God says one thing at one point, another thing at another point? If God's supposed to be like infallible, was that like a mistake then that he said the other thing previously? And people are like, nope, there are no mistakes. Never makes a mistake.
Yep.
It's just time for a change. Yep. God was like, it's time for a change. Why? Was it bad before? It's time for a change.
Your point is proven, Carr. It seems that I have trusted too much in the obedience of mankind. I did not make a mistake. I have never made a mistake. However, it is time for a change.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I did not make a mistake.
And then he's going to announce that he's granting the Canton of Inquisition command and authority over the ministry, over the obligators.
Yep. And that's the last note I have for chapter 36.
Yep.
And so then 37, we get Doxson complaining about Kel lovingly.
Just, like grieving and thinking about...
It's like, oh, Kel, you leave me with all this work to do.
Yeah.
Just like, he doesn't really mean it, but he's just like, that's just how he's got to like get through.
Right. He's kind of like a bit of the backbone and taking care of all of the, the day-to-day, all of the paperwork, the people stuff,
Yep, and bickering at Kel was what he always did,
exactly,
Just like, that was their dynamic. Yeah. See, some of my notes, I don't spell things correctly.
Yeah.
Or, like, I miss words sometimes, and I'm like, what the fuck was I saying? But yeah, former Palace Guard helping the team with Vin. So, like, but I just wrote, like, Forme. I didn't put the R on the end, so it was like, what? But yeah, the former Palace Guard, the one that, like, tore his badge off or whatever, like, shows up. And with, like, this guy bringing Ellen to Dachshund.
with a bag over his head.
Yeah.
And
Dachshund's like, what? I don't have time for this. I don't have time for, like, captives. I've come to offer a truce.
What news? The messenger shook his head. He was a young man. What is it? No, it's not. It's not this part. Where? Sorry.
Yeah, none of the guards have seen her come out. None of the guards have seen her come out of the palace dungeons. So he's just like worrying about her at that point. And then
oh, it's before Ellen shows up. That's why.
Yeah. Ellen's come to offer a truce.
Yeah. Here it is. He trailed off. His attention drawn by a group of ska rebels who marched into the room, pulling a bound prisoner with a cloth sack on his head.
Right, because the thing about the, like, palace guard is that he's the one who's, like, informing that, like, hey...
That Vin was captured.
And all that sort of stuff, because he's still got, like, people in the palace guard. And then the, like, other ska show up.
Yeah, I was mixing them together.
I feel that. I do that all the time. Because Ham also is, like, Housley Cow's, like, the only one that's, like, still standing right now.
Yeah, which is funny, because that's what Ellen said.
Did. Yep.
Like, he was like, no, it's more defensible.
Yep, it's more defensible. Go send people there.
Yeah.
And, like, we'll be good. And so then...
then we get, the grunt pulled off the hood, revealing Ellen Venture. You? Have we met? Not exactly. Blast, I don't have time for captives right now. Still, the son of the Ventures. Dachshund was gonna need leverage.
Yep.
He's like, fine, I guess I'll kidnap him. What the fuck? Don't know what I'm supposed to do with him.
Yeah, and then Ellen's like, I've come offering a truce.
Excuse me? House Venture will not resist you, and I can probably talk the rest of the nobility into listening as well.
See, the funny thing is, like, whenever he says that, I'm like, are you sure? I mean, it's not like you're the most well-liked guy in the nobility or anything. You know, it's like, you're cool and all, but, like... But yeah, he's coming to offer truce. Ellen's like, you want to make your rebellion not collapse immediately after. He's like, you ever heard of a power vacuum?
Yep.
You ever heard of, like...
Yep.
It's like the rebellion's gonna, like,
gonna just start, like, run out of things to do and just start destroying everything.
Yeah, just start destroying everything, you know. And it's like... and that's understandable because there's a lot of, like, rebellions will, like, tear down a powerful system, but then it's just like, well, then now what?
Yeah.
You know, it's like you need to have, like, a transition of power of some sort. And because there's always the thing, it's like, well, if one rebellion got this group in charge, then suddenly rebellion's kind of, like, in the air.
Right.
And so if someone else is like, well, actually, I don't like this. Y'all are, like, new, and y'all got here by rebellion, so we're gonna get here. You know, it's just like infighting breaks out amongst the ranks and things like that.
Yep, and that's exactly what he's talking about here.
Yep, and so it's like, you know, it's interesting.
Yeah, yep, and then they tell Ellen that Vin is, in fact, in another castle.
Yep, your Vin is in another castle.
Yep.
And then we switch perspectives to Carr, the Inquisitor.
I think we're in Vin's head, but Carr's first mentioned.
Oh, yeah, gotcha. Carr just gets mentioned, because I just have Carr, the Inquisitor, written down, and then I have Reen didn't sell her out, even under torture, which means I was right all along. I was right all along. Way back in the day, I had a note in my notes that was like, Reen, prediction. Reen is a, quote, good brother because he betrayed Vin to protect her somehow. Vin is going to learn to break the cycle by being genuinely good instead of Reen-style good. And,
I like it.
And so I was like, I was on it somewhat. Reen was shitty, but Reen did, quote, betray her by saving her. Because really, he got captured.
Yeah, and then didn't
give her
up.
And so it's like, Reen did have a sort of like, quote, good reason for leaving. The reason being he didn't do it on purpose.
Right. He didn't purposely leave her.
He didn't purposefully leave her. And so it's like Reen cared. He was bad.
Yep.
But he did care, and he did keep her from being like taken and whatnot. And so it's like, I was like, in the end, it's going to be that Reen did like one good thing for her, essentially. Right. And I mean, he did multiple good things. He just also did multiple bad things. Yeah,
he was just horrible. He beat the shit out of her. And was,
Yep.
Took out his anger and stuff on her, I think. And
yep, because it's like sometimes, you know, the people who are abusing you can genuinely love you. Yeah. They just have a fucked up sense of of like right and wrong and like how you can treat people and like what it means to love someone and things like that. And so it's like, you know, sometimes love isn't enough, as it were. Yeah. You know, strictly speaking. But he did do the dang thing. He withstood torture to not... But also it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, of course he did. Torture's not actually that good at getting you correct answers. Yeah. Because, like, real world has shown that, like, torture is not an effective method to actually get, like, it's... Torture is a effective method of getting the answers that you want. Not the answers that are actually true. Yeah. You know, and lots of people don't just, like, break under torture and tell the truth. Yeah. Most of the time they just tell you what you want to hear. Yeah. Just whatever it takes to stop it, not whatever is actually like the truth, you know. Yep. And so it's just like, yeah, no, torture's not actually that good or effective, and basing your like whole system off of it is not good. Yep. Yeah, and then I have Sazed's here. Yep,
then they bring in Sazed all like beat up and stuff. And naked.
And we got what I feel was like a bit of an unnecessary bit about Sazed's whole situation being like a eunuch and whatnot. It's like, I didn't need to like see it. I feel like we didn't need to have the moment where it's like Vin actually like has to like see that's happening. You know, it's just like I believe it, and I don't need to, you know, it's like Sazed gets thrown in there naked, and I'm like, that, like, it makes sense to be like, we've stripped him of everything, we throw him in a cage. That, like, feels, like, plausible, believable. I wouldn't have any, like, issue with that. I don't necessarily have, like, an issue with it. It just felt a little unnecessary.
They just lingered on it.
They lingered on it.
I think that's why.
Yeah, it's just kind of like, you have a moment where, like, Vin sees and has this, like, you know, it's like a whole moment. Like, I feel like we didn't need to, like, linger on that moment, per se. It could have just been, like, you know... So we don't need to, like, linger on his, like, scar and everything and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, and their plan is that they're gonna torture Sazed in front of her. Yeah. To get her. Yeah. Instead of, like, torturing her. Yeah. And then they leave, and Sazed starts joking with her. Yeah. It's like, mistress, if Doxson could see you in your underwear right now, you'd be so upset. Because she's also been, like, stripped, but she's still got her, like... shorts and shift or whatever, because gotta leave a woman her modesty, I guess. You know. But yeah, and Sazed got captured on purpose. Yep. To help break her out, and I like that he swallowed his metal. Yeah. Yep. He swallowed some metal. So that he could use it for ferrochemy while he was inside, so that he could hide his metal. And it's like, it's so good. It's like, and so then we get to see him be weak for a little bit, and then get super strong, and he gets like anime style, like
is super buff
and big, and he like just fucking breaks the lock and like all this shit. It's super cool.
Yeah, he ripped the bars free.
And so then they, like, get out, and there's, like, all this, like, fighting going on.
Yeah, there's a bunch of guards, and so there's a bunch more cool Mistborn fighting.
A bunch of more fighting, and it's, like, Vin doesn't have her medals.
No.
So she's, like, doing some fighting just, like, unenhanced,
Yep.
which is cool.
Yeah.
But she's like, oh, man, I've gotten, like, reliant on this stuff.
Yep.
And my series of notes is Vin tries to save Sazed, gets saved by Ellen.
Yep.
Ellen is here with the palace guard that Vin converted. Vin finds...
A familiar voice cried.
Yep. Vin finds where clothes are stored and gets her medals back, because she's like... Because, you know, it's like her clothes are stored, like, near where she was being kept, which, like, makes sense. It's like they're just in, like, a trunk or something. Yeah. And then Ellen's holding his own, which is surprising.
Yeah.
Vin saves Ellen, and they hug.
Yeah.
You came back.
Yeah.
And she's just saying, you came back over and over again, and it's real sad.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Ellen was actually there. Ellen fighting for her, wanting to, like, be there with her, and it's like, you know, she has this whole thing about, like, Kelsier betrayed me by, like, dying, and he, like, left by dying, and
which
she's
she
like,
knows is, like...
Yeah, but it's just sort of, like, her, like, you know, because that's how she, like, processes things, you know, it's like, that's her, like, the pattern that she's learned to kind of fall into.
Right.
And so, obviously, that's not, like, a good way to think about it, and that's not, you know, how Kelsier is, but, like, yes, like, Ellen's the first person to sort of, like, leave and come back.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, Kelsier doesn't get to come back except as, like, Lord Renew, and that's not really Kelsier.
Right.
You know, it's like, Kelsier leaves these, like, messages behind, and we find out why he was doing all this stuff, but that's not him being back.
No.
You know, in the same sort of way. And so, like, this means, like, a lot for her, for, like, Ellen to actually, like, come back and, like, be there and, like, be, like, fighting for her and, like, all this sort of stuff. And it's like, she saves him, but it's the thought that counts, that he was trying to... Because, like, he does help, like...
He does, they, like, gets her enough time to get to her medals and stuff.
Yep, because that's what a D&D fight's all about, baby. When your party is that high level, you gotta take away their magic items, and part of the fight is, like, can you get your magic items back? Can you live long enough to get your magic items back? And also, can you keep this weaker person alive in the fight? But yeah, and so... And then it's like, what happened to your clothes? They're over there. Could you put them back on?
Yeah,
Vin
they're on the
doesn't
floor
care.
over there.
Vin just doesn't care. Just doesn't even react.
Yeah. I also like this line from Ellen. Yes, and I see that you're a Mistborn. That's rather interesting. You know, it's generally common courtesy to tell one's friends about things like that.
Yeah, but then she's like, I'm sorry.
Well, yes. Sounding very distracted. Villette, what happened to your clothes?
Mm-hmm. Oh, they're over there.
And then just keeps going on another conversation, and he's like, do you want to put on your clothes?
Yes, and it's like, do you think you could go put your clothes on? This is kind of distracting. She smiled up at him. You found me. Just completely ignores it.
I love it.
I love it so much, because she's just like... she just doesn't have that same sort of, like, sense of, like, modesty or whatever. And I love that about Vin. It's hilarious. And so...
Yeah, and then, it's not safe anywhere in the city. The Ska are rebellion. Oh, God. Mm-hmm. The Ska are rebelling. He hesitated. But, you probably already know that.
Yep.
Vin nodded. I helped start it.
Yep.
Anyway.
And then, I have Time to Kill God.
Yep.
And Kiss, because they have a little kiss before they go. She, like, grabs him and kisses him before being like, I have to go kill God. You have to get that ATM. It's like, where's the ATM stored? Yeah. And it's like, it's, like, stored over in this one place. Like, well, go fucking get it then. And then she's like, I think I know how to kill him.
Yep.
I think I know how to kill him. Doesn't.
Nope.
This is what I have in my notes. It's like, Vin, I love you, but you don't know. No. You don't know how to kill him.
No.
You're like, I think I know now. And it's like, no, Vin, you have, like, a guess.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, Vin. I had the same guess, but, like, you just... But we'll get into that with Chapter 38. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Lord Ruler gives...
This one and the epilogue, right? Are the last two?
Yep. This is the last chapter and then the epilogue.
Yeah.
Yep. The Lord Ruler gives the church to Carr.
This is a long one.
Yes.
Looking at the time of this is definitely going to be our longest one.
This is definitely going to be our longest one. There's going to be some large stretches that get, like, cut out.
But it'll still,
But it'll
I
still
think, be like 2.5 hours.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Because it's like, there's definitely not, like, 10 minutes worth of stuff to get cut. It'll be, like, a few minutes.
All right, anyway, let's go.
Yes. So now we're in Car's perspective.
Nope. Now we're in Vin's perspective. Still.
No. Well, I guess so. But, like, but we...
Oh yeah, we do then go into Car's point of view pretty quickly.
Yeah.
It's just her getting into there, just like her.
Yeah, it's just her
getting
like
in place.
Yeah, because it's like, and there's like a cool description of how it's like circular.
Yeah.
Like stained glass, like it's stained glass all the way around, and there's like fires on the outside. Like,
yeah.
And it looks like the mist and stuff like that. We got that description like earlier.
Yeah.
But we get like some of it again as she's like, yeah, because she's like hopping on the spires, and she's like. The last time I was here, I was like fleeing.
Yeah.
And all that sort of stuff, and now she's gonna go fucking fight. And Kelsier believed that the 11th metal was the key, she thought. She had one idea. It would work. It had to. And then we go into Car's perspective. Yeah, because my first note is just the Lord Ruler gives the church to Car, so I didn't have any notes on like that little bit.
And it's interesting seeing from like the point of view of a Inquisitor, and him talking about like he couldn't see anymore, not as he once had.
Yep.
And a command of allomancy so subtle, so detailed that he could make out the world around him with startling accuracy. Almost everything had metal in it: water, stone, glass, even human bodies.
Yep.
These metals were too diffused to be affected by allomancy. Indeed, most allomancers couldn't sense them. With his Inquisitor's eyes, however, Carr could see the iron lines of these things. The blue threads were fine, nearly invisible, but outlined the world for him.
Yep. And that's cool. That's such a cool way for them to, like, see the world.
Yeah.
And, like, an explanation for, like, how they can see without eyes and stuff. And it's also interesting because it means that, like, that sort of... those lines, that senses are kind of like separate from regular sight.
Yeah.
In a way, which is interesting. The Inquisition has been planning this.
Yeah, they've been
for like a long time.
For a while, and they were like seeding corruption in the Obligators purposefully.
They were intentionally seeding corruption in the Obligators, which kind of is interesting because that makes sense how But Marsh was, like, infiltrating the, like, Inquisitors specifically. But it's also, like, they're intentionally, like, allowing corruption in the Ministry. So it's like, yeah, of course Marsh can just kind of, like, slip in. Discomfort, anger, and fear.
Yep.
Because he talks about, like, sensing that off the people around him and how he enjoys sensing their discomfort, anger, and fear.
Yep. And then talking about how they need to sleep because it drains them quite a bit, and so they all need to go power down.
Mm-hmm. Also, him talking about, like, him knowing what, like, the gaze of a obligator, of, like, an Inquisitor, how it, like, affects people. Yeah. Makes me think of, it gives me big Half-Man.
Yes. Eyeless.
Mirdraw. There we go. Mirdraw from...
Well, we got to the...
Yeah.
They were all the names for the same thing, so...
Yeah, from Wheel of Time. Because we've now hit our second contractual obligation, which is to mention Wheel of Time.
Exactly.
And, the Inquisitor quarters are kept by the throne room. They're kept intentionally close to the throne room. Which is, like, that makes sense. They're there to, like, protect the Lord Ruler. And so he has them, like... stationed right next to the throne room. They're like quarters, and you know, as they say, foreshadowing is a literary device. Coins. A coin breaks through the window, and Car's like, what? And then more coins, and then more coins, and then Vin bursts through the window, and Vin attacks. She goes after the 11th metal shadow of the Lord Ruler and tries to attack it and just goes right through it. Yep. And it's like, well, fuck. And I'm like, you know, Vin, I had the same thought. I was like, maybe you can try and attack it. I doubt that fucking does anything, but you can certainly try. I had the same thought. Don't worry about it. But like, yeah, it ain't it ain't good. Kill him in the past.
Kill him in the past.
Kill him in the past. I had the same thought, Vin, was my note. And then Vin's captured by Carr.
Yep.
Carr, like, gets a hold of her. He's like, he was a soldier. He knows how to keep someone
Yep.
Captive. The mist is being weird. She's, like, trying to use allomancy.
Yeah.
Normally the mist swirls around her, but the mist is, like, going away from her.
Yeah.
With, like, Carr holding on to her, which I didn't notice the first time. And then it's like, he's like, Inquisitors, come in here. And then, like, one Inquisitor comes in.
Yep.
And fucking kills Carr.
Yep. The second Inquisitor stepped up beside his companion. Then he reached out and grabbed something at Carr's back. There was a ripping sound. And yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then he pulls a spike out of Carr's back.
Yep.
And Carr dies. And so when we were listening to this, like, the Inquisitor then, like, goes
to the Lord Ruler.
Goes to the Lord Ruler. And, like, I paused the audiobook and was like, okay, I'm gonna real quick make a prediction.
A crack theory, just a big,
It's like okay, here's my thought, because, like, I think that this is Marsh.
Yep.
Because, the body, the head was crushed, couldn't identify the body,
Yep.
The Inquisitors, he got, like, the eye tattoos, and, like, he's, like, committed to this thing, and so it's like he got made into a Steel Inquisitor, and so that's why he's, like, killing these people and doing all this stuff. And then, like, I hit play, and, like, immediately
it says it looked like Kelsier. It's Marsh.
Yep. Where it's just like, it looked like Kelsier, but a little different.
Sorry, that was really loud. I just, like, he yelled in the mic.
No, it's probably good, I think. But yeah, no, it's like, it's Marsh, and I was like, haha, I fucking knew it. I got the, like, right, I got that prediction in, like, the
nick of time.
The last second before I could. And so I have, like, it's Marsh, yay. Marsh killed all 7 Inquisitors. It's like they look back at the door and there's like a bunch of spikes there because they're right next to the throne room. They were all in one convenient spot for Marsh to just fucking kill them all. It's so good.
So good.
Marsh, from the beginning and then up until this point, the most competent person, the person getting it done. Marsh continues to be the best. And I was so happy that Marsh was, like, alive and that he came back. I was like, yay!
Marsh!
I'm like, Marsh. Like, there's the part of it, because there's obviously, like, it can be like, oh, fake out and all this sort of stuff. But this one, I'm like, this was a good fake out death.
Yep. I was watching Nerdy, like the Nerdy Nightly, like their book club, and Nerdy is not a fan of fake out deaths. Yeah. And he liked this. Oh yeah. Yeah. He liked this one quite a bit. They had like a discussion on it and how he's like, normally I don't like them, but like this didn't feel like a fake out death because or like it just
because it's like you can do a fake out death where if it feels believable because it's like, and
the character's all like grieved and like and then he did like he's changed massively. Like he's alive.
He's alive, but he's very different. And it's also like his death moved things forward in the story.
Kelsier's now dead, kind of because of that, because he went straight to the pits and then boom, 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 he's dead.
Yeah, because it's like Marsh is presumed dead, Kelsier goes and does the pits, which then causes the executions, which then causes him to try and prevent the executions, which then causes his face off with the Lord Ruler, which then, kicks off the rebellion, and so it's just like, like the dominoes start falling, and the avalanche starts avalanching. Yep. And it's and it's like it's good because there's a dead body that like they presume is Marsh, but I was like, it really seems like it, and like I'm totally willing to believe it, but also it's like there's definitely a possibility this isn't him.
Yeah, there's enough like
that the head's completely crushed.
It was like super fast. They were like in and out. Like they grabbed the note that he had left them, but I mean, who knows, like...
Right, because it's like, they just find a body that's, like, been both flayed and the head is crushed.
And just completely unrecognizable.
It's just unrecognizable. They say, like, it's hardly even recognizable as, like, a human being. Yeah. So, like, to say that this is Marsh, it's just like, that's, like, a pretty fair conclusion to come to, but it's also like we can't know that for sure. Right. And so the idea that like later Marsh comes back doesn't feel like, but like that fucking body.
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah,
no,
but that person who we definitely were sure was dead, yeah.
Yep, and so it's like, to poke a little fun at Nerdy.
Yeah.
Watching him like watch One Piece,
yeah,
he can be a little quick to assume that someone's dead.
Yeah.
Where like in One Piece, it's like a character goes down and he's like, oh, they're dead, but they'll come back because no one dies, and it's like, well, I think that you're the only person here who's assuming that character should be dead. But that's just like, an issue when it comes to like genre conventions and like not understanding that like no, like One Piece, like if you like, you can probably assume that the Straw Hats are going to
survive. Yeah, that's not the stakes.
That's not the stakes. Like, you can assume that they're probably going to broadly succeed in their goal to help these people, but, like, just because you know that that's going to happen doesn't mean that, like, the story isn't good.
Right.
And that, like, the stakes can't still be there. It's like, people read Shakespeare all the time knowing how Shakespeare plays end, and you can still just, like, enjoy the, like, experience of it. And he was getting, like, very much in his own head about that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So it's kind of fun to hear that he, like, did enjoy this one.
Yep.
And that he, was like, no, it all, like, makes sense and all comes together. Because, it's like, I feel like, Nerdy's, like, he has an understanding of story and stuff like that, but it's just, like, watching him watch...
Yeah, sometimes he just gets too wrapped up in his head, and,
and just, like...
And he needs Clarus there to be like, what? Wait.
Yeah, because also there's just, like, moments where he just, like... He just needs someone else there to, like, remind him of things, because he'll just start spiraling off into a bit, because he's, like, talking about, like, Crocodile, and it's, like, Crocodile can, like... Because Crocodile has, like, a poison hook, and he's, like, Crocodile can, like, make poison now, and it's, like...
That's part of his devil fruit or something?
And it's, like, why would you assume that? He just has a hook that has poison in it. It's just, like, an object. It's just a poisoned thing. But it's just, sometimes you just, like... when you're reading a thing or like watching a thing and you get like in your own head, you can like get yourself into like a weird place and just like get yourself kind of like off track in this sort of like weird way. Like right now, how we're off on a tangent in the middle of our podcast. But yeah, so he kills the 7 Inquisitors. Lord Ruler's pissed. Marsh runs up to the Lord Ruler, tears the Lord Ruler's clothes to see if he has a spike in his back like the other Inquisitors, but he doesn't. And Vin is like, it was a good idea, Marsh, better than mine.
But no.
But nope, unfortunately not. And like, I'm trying to remember like at the time, it's like how I was feeling about this, because I'm like, ooh, that's interesting, because it like then I'm like, what is it? What's it gonna be like the thing? What's going to be like the thing? What's the secret? Lord Ruler is shirtless, has bands in his arms that pierce the skin. He has these like... there's like a term, bracers. He has like these bracers in his like upper arm that like pierce the skin so that like... And Vin's like, clever. It's so that like they can't be pushed or pulled by allomancy. And it's like, oh baby, there's more to it than that, because we're here. We're in like the last chapter, before like the epilogue, and and we get the secret, that like he's a ferrochemist.
Yes.
But before that, we get the Lord Ruler says something to Marsh about like, what do you think I am? And he calls the Inquisitors endowed fabrications. Which is interesting. Because it's like, what did he endow them with? With what I imagine some of his power, essentially. So I wonder, because it's like Marsh, because it's like they're all Mistborn. Even though Marsh was not a Mistborn, he was a Misting, but he became one. So, like, is he just one that's a Misting? Or did he become a full Mistborn by having this done to him? We haven't seen him, like, do full Mistborn stuff yet, I don't think.
I don't think so.
As an Inquisitor. But if he can see, like the other ones can, then he must be able to see with, like, the steel and iron, like, lines. Which would imply that he does now have these other, like, full Mistborn powers. And, like, yeah, I just wonder if there's some sort of, like, weird Allomancy Feruchemy mix going on here somehow. But also it's, like, there could just be, like, it could all just be weird Allomancy shit. Yeah. Because we know for a fact that they have, like, Allomancy secrets that we don't know about. Right. Because there's, like, stuff about Allomancy that, like, there's the stuff that we, like, quote, know. Yep. But then it turns out that it's not all as true as we would imagine because, like, you know, Vin and the Lord Ruler can push beyond some of these things. Yep. Vin's earring shoots out of her ear. Yeah. He shoots it out of her ear with, like, pushing and stuff, even though it's in her. He fucking pushes on the metals in her stomach, which is just... I don't like it. I'm just like... Because, like, when they first mentioned that, I'm like, yeah, that would suck, and that sounds awful. And, like, and then he does it, and it just, and then the Lord Ruler seems exhausted. She's like, something about his, like, air, his demeanor. Yeah. Is that he's, like, tired. And he's like, how many times must I prove that I'm God? Yeah. How many times must I prove to you people?
Yeah, I am God. So different from the humble man in the logbook. God cannot be killed, he said. God cannot be overthrown. Your rebellion? You think I haven't seen its like before? You think I haven't destroyed entire armies on my own? What will it take before you people stop questioning? How many centuries must I prove myself before you idiot Ska see the truth? How many of you must I kill?
Yep. Yep. And then he starts, like, talking to he says some stuff to, like, Marsh about, like, you know,
making you dominant.
Yes, I made you dominant. And then Vin starts putting it together. So he keeps talking about dominance,
that his people should be dominant.
And then she's, like, looking at his, like, shadow, his 11th metal version, and it's like he looks like a Pac-Man. He's Rashik. And the twist that he was Rashik the whole time. Yep. Really got me. I was like, oh my god.
Me too when I first read it.
Like, it's just like, it's like a Pac-Man. It's like, it's Rashik. It's like, you killed him.
Yep. You killed the man in the logbook.
Yep, he killed the hero and took the power for himself. It's like, you the man from the logbook. You're Rashik. And he, like, has his moment like, what? You know? Yep. And so, like, okay, so I said before that I had some thoughts about, like, okay, so Barashik's like, my people should be dominant, so why did he do all this stuff to the Terracemen? And I'm like, why, though, if he has this view? And then I'm like, okay, actually, no, it does make sense, because there's this whole thing when, like, people talk about, like, when it comes to, like, fascism and, like, studying, like, how fascists work, it's like, there's this idea of, like, oh, we're part of this, like, group that's, like, better than everyone else, but as fascists get into power, that group shrinks. Yes. And it shrinks and it shrinks, and less people, like, who gets to be white? It didn't used to be white people. I mean, it didn't used to be, like, Irish people and Italian people. They didn't get to count as white, but now they do. Yeah. And because it's like you're trying to, like, build a coalition, you're trying to get as many people in your group as possible to say, hey, we as white people should be X, Y, and Z. But then, you know, it's like Jewish people. Do they get to count? Yeah. It's like a lot of people who are Jewish religiously, you would look at and say, well, that's a white person. Yeah. But it's like whether or not they get counted depends. And it's like a lot of these, like, fascist people are like, no, they don't get to count. And as you gain more and more power, fewer and fewer people are in that, become part of that group. They exclude people. Oh, you're not, you know, it's like, for Hitler, it was like, oh, the Aryan people, it's blonde hair, blue eyes. Yeah. It's not just about being white, it's about being blonde hair, blue eyed, which he wasn't even. Yeah. You know, and so it's just like, it becomes the shrinking definition, and there's more and more infighting because the truth is he wants to be dominant. Yes. It's not about his people, it's about him. It's not, you know, the idea that his people should be dominant. It's really that he feels that he should be dominant, and that his people thing is just like an excuse. It's just like this thing where it's like, oh, it's not that I'm better than everyone else, it's that we're better than everyone else, which is how you build coalition to get yourself in charge, and then you subjugate everyone else.
Yeah.
Because it's fascism. There has to be a pyramid, and someone has to be at the top.
Yeah.
And that's where he's at, which means that all other terrorist men are below him.
Yeah.
And he...
And can't be as powerful as him.
And can't be as powerful as him. And if he's worried about them being as powerful as him, then he's like, shut it down.
Yep.
You know? And, like, I still wonder about the relationship between, like, allomancy and ferochemy, because they're both metal related, and you can do both. But, like, allomancy seems to have appeared post Well of Ascension, you know? There's no records of allomancy. The guy who he thought was the Lord Ruler, the logbook guy, he never mentions allomancy. He doesn't talk about the terrorist people being able to use allomancy.
He did hear a pulsing.
He did hear a pulsing.
But we don't know if that's related to allomancy or not.
We don't know if that's related to allomancy or not. It seems like it would be, but it's like...
And, like, is it just him who heard it? Did other people hear it? Like...
Right. It's like allomancy doesn't seem to be, like, this thing that people, like, know about in the way that we know about it in the sort of present day of Mistborn. Yeah. And so it's like, where does it come from? Where did it go? Where does it come from? Cotton Eye Joe? No. Where did allomancy come from? Because it's like the Lord Ruler supposedly, like, gifted it to the people who helped him early on. And so it's like, who were those people? Were they terrorist men who couldn't do ferochemy?
Yeah.
That he then, were they just other non-terrorist people? Yeah, I just want to know more about, like, the history and stuff, which I feel like we'll probably get some of at some point, because it's like...
Yeah, because he's, like, obscured a lot of it, so, like...
Yeah, he's...
Most people don't really know.
He's obscured so much of the history, and it's like, you know, the next book is The Well of Ascension, and, like, we have all these, like, questions about the Lord Ruler still at the end of the book, and so it's like... there goes another page. And so it's like, I feel like we'll probably get some answers. I don't know. I just don't know, but it's like, it's so good. Because it's like, you know, it was there the whole time. It's like Rashik's there, like, plotting and, like, staring at him.
You hear him mentioned, like, a ton of times throughout, like, the logbook, and
I just didn't even, like, think about it. You know?
Because he's just like, oh, this guy is just, like, here, like, being mad, like...
It's like, oh, this is why he, like, hates the terrorist men, maybe, you know, and all this sort of stuff. But it's like, no, it's like...
I've been here.
I've been here the whole time.
Making this joke again.
Yes. It was just, like, Rashik, like... appearing above this guy's bed. I've been here the whole time. And then kills him. Which is funny, because I do now, because, like, I know his name, but I wasn't supposed to know his name this book.
I just, for some reason, assumed it was in this book. I don't know.
Yeah, it was so funny. It's just so funny because... I
was, like, so certain.
Because, like, you were so certain that I was like, I mean, I don't know, maybe, I guess.
I was so wrong.
Yeah. It's just, like, you know, I didn't want to be like... It's like, no, I don't think so.
Like, I don't think you're right.
Yeah, no, it's like, I don't think so, but I was like, I don't know, maybe, I forget stuff.
Sure, we'll just...
Sure, whatever. But yeah, he killed the hero, took the power for himself, then hears the people cheer. Hears the people outside cheering, and then she's like, he's a ferochemist.
Yep.
And his upper arm bracers, it's like she's like him somehow and can do things beyond normal allomancy, like pierce copper clouds. So she tries to push his internal metals, the metals that he has, like piercing his skin from the bracer. She drew on the mist and pulled on his bracers. There's also a bit where she tries to, like, pull on his, like, other metal. Yeah. And he just, like, tosses her around because it's like, yeah, no, don't fucking use his, like, metals as an anchor. He'll just fucking yank on you. Yep. But he's, like, pushing on her.
Yeah, like, into a wall, basically.
Yeah, and then she pulls on his bracers that are, like, stuck into his arm. And can pull on them. But she, like, pulls on the mist. She drew on the mist and pulled on his bracers. And it's like, what's that about? What's up with the mist? How does she pull on the mist? How does she draw energy from the mist, you know? Yeah, she drew upon the mist. Yep. 2 lines appeared. She screamed, pulling with a strength she had never known before. She flared her iron higher and higher, the Lord Ruler's own push giving her the leverage she needed to pull against his bracelets. Anger, desperation, and agony mixed within her, and the pull became her only focus. Her pewter ran out. He killed Kelsier. The bracers ripped free. Yep, and so then the Lord Ruler starts rapidly aging.
Yep, as immortals tend to do.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. And how the, like... Because the thing is, and you were like... I've been talking about, like, feruchemy and allomancy,
yes.
and, like, what if you could do both?
Yep,
what if you could do both? Yep. And then the big secret was that he could do both. And that's what allowed him to do all this stuff.
I was loving you just, like, go off about that, because I'm like, I mean, yeah, that's... Mm-hmm. Yeah, those are all great, like...
yeah. Theories
and everything. I'm like, I cannot expand because that's the ending of this book, but...
Right. Yeah, because it's like... Because this whole thing is like, okay, so like you store your stuff in the metal, but then you can burn the metal, but does that give you, like, more? And the answer is apparently yes.
Yep,
yes, it does.
Absolutely.
And so, yeah, he starts rapidly aging, and then Sazed shows up, because she, like, passes out.
Yeah.
And and she lays there for a time. And then Sazed shows up and is trying to help her. And she's like, help Marsh. And then later Marsh is like, it's like, I'll be fine, help her.
Yeah.
Because he gives her some metals, gives her pewter, and she instinctually starts burning it and getting better. And she's like, he's dead. Oh yeah, and it's like, oh yeah, help Marsh. Marsh is here?
Yeah.
Like, oh wow, that's Marsh.
Yep.
Yeah, and then she's like, why can I do these things? Why can I do the stuff that he can do? Which I'm like, yeah, good fucking question. I guess it has something to do with the mist, maybe? But also it's like, I don't know, I'm still like, maybe she's somehow related to him, but just like distantly. Like if sometime way in the past he had some sort of child who lived and was part of the nobility and passed down. But then you'd imagine, because if feruchemy is like hereditary, that they'd like have figured out that they can also do that. But if they don't know to try to do feruchemy, then why would they? So like, I don't know. So I have theories that like maybe she's related to him somehow, if not like direct descent. Maybe there's like some sort of other explanation, but she has some of the same shit that he does. How? Why? I don't know. Something about like pure bloodlines, but like, what does that mean? Like, how did the nobility get allomancy and stuff? Where does it come from? Where does it go? I won't make that joke again. But yeah, it's just like, what's the deal?
Yep.
And it's like, he's dead, and it's like, no, he's still alive. He's crawling towards the window. He's just old. It's just like, he's really old and crawling towards the window because the brace just got like
thrown down there, and he's like crawling towards it. And she hears the cheering, and it's like, you hear that cheering? It's not for you. Yep. Yeah. Sazed says, listen, he who would have been our god. Do you hear them cheering? Those cheers aren't for you. This people never cheered for you. They have found a new leader this evening, a new pride. My obligators. Your obligators will forget you. I will see to that. The other inquisitors are dead, slain by my own hand. Yet the gathered prelans saw you transfer power to the Canton of Inquisition. I am the only inquisitor left in Luthadel. I rule your church now.
Yep, Marsha's like, hey, by technicality, I actually rule the church.
Yep.
Because then there's like, yeah, but will that be like enforced now that the Lord Ruler's dead? Maybe, but it's like,
and there are like other inquisitors out there. Will they follow Marsh? You know, like,
it's like there are other inquisitors out there. Will the like Canton of Orthodoxy?
Yeah, like, will the obligators follow Marsh?
But also like they were just like kind of spurned by the Lord Ruler, so like they might necessarily be like loyal to the Lord Ruler at this point either.
Right.
You know, and so it's like, and also if they like, because like they don't really know what just happened.
No.
Because it's like they don't know that like he just went and killed all the like Inquisitors, and like he's like part of
Yep.
this whole thing. It's like, as far as they know, he's just the only one that's left.
Yep, exactly.
So it's like he can just say whatever he wants.
Right,
kind
he doesn't
of.
have to say he killed all of them.
Yep, and so it's like, you know, he could potentially be in like a really good position there.
Yeah.
In terms of all that. And then you don't understand. You don't know what I did for mankind. I was your god, even if you couldn't see it. By killing me, you have doomed yourselves. Those are the Lord Ruler's last words before Vin is like, you know, I've got a message from a friend.
Yep. He wanted you to know that he is not dead. He can't be killed. He is hope.
And then she fucking kills him.
Yep.
Vin spears him in the heart, just like he did to Kelsier. Spears, our favorite method of killing gods. Which again feels very Spear of Longinus. You familiar?
No.
Spear of Longinus. It's the spear that pierced Christ's side.
Oh, gotcha.
I know that name partly because it comes up in Evangelion, because Evangelion is full of random Christian imagery that the creator was like, I did it because I thought it was cool, and everyone's like, what does it mean? He's like, it means that I thought it was cool.
Yeah.
And one of the things is the Spear of Longinus, which is like stabbed into this like creature that's like up on a cross. That's like, it's either Adam or Eve, and it's one of these like, because like in Evangelion, the angels that are like coming to Earth to fucking everything up, they're doing it because Adam or Eve, one of their like weird alien god brethren things, is like trapped on Earth with like a spear stabbed into it on like a cross in the middle of the Earth or whatever.
Okay.
It's like a weird whole
All
thing.
right.
Evangelion's wild. There's like, yeah, I watched Evangelion at one point and was like, damn, this is, wow, that was certainly a lot. And then I immediately watched Kaguya-sama Love is War after it to be like, I need a palate cleanser. so that's funny. Kaguya-sama, very good. Evangelion was also good, but Kaguya-sama, also very good. We've been watching that.
We have.
But yes.
All right, now we got the epilogue, and then we'll be done.
Yes, that is correct. I also, the whole spears, our favorite method of killing gods, comes from, there was some video talking about, like, Batman v Superman, and the fact that, like, Batman uses a, like, kryptonite spear to kill Superman, and Superman's, in the movie, explicitly made to be, like, a godlike figure. And so it's very, like...
Got you.
Yeah, and I don't remember who it was, whose video it was that I was watching, where they said something about, like, using mankind's favorite instrument to kill gods or something like that.
Got you.
Yeah, and so now it's epilogue time.
Yeah.
Going over the events with everyone.
Yeah, basically. So, like, Sazed is saying, like, Lord Ruler was a ferochemist and an allomancer.
And that by storing, it's like he could take an element, I don't know what to call it, like an attribute?
Yeah.
He took one of his stats.
Yeah, it's an attribute would be the correct term.
Correct term. So, like, he can take an attribute, store it in a metal, which essentially makes it a new allomantic metal.
Yes.
That he can then burn to gain more of that attribute.
Yes.
And so it's like he could take, like, he could store up youth in a metal and then burn it to gain more youth than he started with, which he would then take that youth and store it in another metal. And so that's what his two bracers were, was that they were full of his excess youth that he got by burning the youth with allomancy. Because that's something I sort of better understood re-listening to it, because the first time I was like, so he like takes it and he stores it in there, so I guess he's like burning it the whole time.
Yeah.
But it's like, oh no, he's got it stored in there.
Yeah, then he can just tap it when he needs.
He can just tap it when he needs. But I also imagine, like,
but he still continuously stores, even though, like,
see, I imagine one of the bracers was probably youth and the other one was probably like health or something.
Yeah.
Or because it's like he gets stabbed through. It's like there's all these times where he gets decapitated.
Oh yeah.
And shit, like fully, and like I don't see how youth saves you from that per se, unless it just like undoes time essentially. Like he's just kind of like, but I don't know. It's like So if he can, like, store up, like, health, essentially, like, because that's something that I feel like Sazed kind of, like, talks about.
Yeah, I think he says that you can store up health.
And so it's, like, it's essentially, like, flaring pewter, but at, like, super, you know, levels.
Yeah.
And so he can just kind of, like, regenerate himself. Yep. But truly, I just... The whole being, like, fully decapitated, like, how do the mechanics of that work? Does he have to, like, put his head back on his body? Like, because he talks about, like, how he's been...
Honestly, I don't want to go super into the mechanics of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's stuff.
I mean, I'm sure. Like, I'm, like...
Yeah, we learn a bit about, health, like, storing health, compounding health, and stuff like that. There's a character in the future who we get to see that explored more. Gotcha.
Okay. Yeah. No, I mean, like, it, you know, we don't, you know, I'm just speculating and asking questions here. We don't need to get into, like, you know, actual, like, answers and everything right now. It's like, you know, I'm like, yeah, I'm sure that we'll get more on this because, like, they're talking about it right now and how there's, like, more to understand because it's like, because Vince, like, obviously that wasn't all. Yeah. Because he could also do things with allomancy that you shouldn't normally be able to do with allomancy. Right. So clearly there's, like, more to it than just that. Yeah. But that is also, like, part of it. So, going over the events with everyone, Ellen's new government, that's how they refer to it. And Marsh heals fast. Yes. Which, again, makes me think about the, like... You know, because like what I kind of imagine is that, like, by putting these spikes in them, if he's given them some level of, like, feruchemy allomancy type shit, then it's like it's almost like they're so fucking worn out because they're having to constantly just, like, keep themselves alive. Yeah, like, you shouldn't be able to live with these spikes through you, but you have to keep using, like, your power to, like, just keep yourself alive. Yeah. And if you, like, cut the head off from the body, if you separate the two spikes in the head from
the rest of the body,
it, like, doesn't work. And so I'm like, how does that work? Because he's like 2 in the head, 8 in the chest, 1 in the back to seal them. And I'm like, what does that mean? What do you mean to seal them? That's not a thing that we've ever talked about when it comes to, like, allomancy or feruchemy. Yep. Like, and they're like, how does this work? And he's like, I'd rather not talk about it right now.
Yep. He's like, nah, it sucks.
Yep, it sucks, and I'd rather not talk about it right now. It's like, fair, we'll get to it next book. This is the epilogue. I can't explain you. I can't expect you to explain everything right now. So burning stored properties with allomancy to increase it tenfold. Yeah. So then increase it by tenfold. By burning a feruchemical storage he basically made a new allomantic metal for himself that makes him younger, but that would make too much youth, so he then stores that youth in his bracers. Yeah. That's the note that I have. Yeah. Elend meeting with Ska and noble leaders to make laws. Yep. And, Vin wonders what secrets the Lord Ruler and Ministry have been keeping. Because they've been keeping all kinds of secrets. Like, they've been suppressing a lot of history. Yep. They've got secrets about allomancy. There's obviously metals. Because here's the thing. The metal that they give her that, like, wipes out all of her other metals, that's not related to time, as far as we know. So that's a whole nother, like, group of metals.
Yep, and we've never heard anything about it.
Never heard anything about it. And so it's like, there's probably all fucking kinds of metals that we don't even know about. And I'm, like, excited to maybe find out about that later in this series, in future eras, perhaps. Who knows? So it's exciting. How is he so strong with allomancy? Time to do the work keepers have been waiting to do. Yeah. Because Vin's like, well, now what? Yeah. Because it's like, everyone's kind of got to go do their own thing, and Sazed's like, I gotta go, like,
teach people.
Like, the keepers can do their job now. This is what we've been waiting for. And there's something, like, so satisfying about that. Yeah. It's like, I'm so happy. It's like, they did it. They actually get to do the thing that they've been waiting all this time to do. It wasn't in vain. Yeah. You know, that's just like, it just feels nice. And perhaps the Well of Ascension gave allomancy That's what they were sort of speculating about. It's like, what was this power at the Well of Ascension? It's like, maybe it was just allomancy. There was no record of it. It's like, yeah, but... Vin's like, yeah, but, like, that's bullshit. Yeah, Vin drew on the mist somehow, and she hasn't been able to, like, recreate it, and she doesn't know what that's about. And it's like, yep, I'd like to know what that's about too, please. The spikes hurt, the pain reacts to his emotions. And so, like, I wonder what that's about. Because, like, we know that, like, you know, because there's... Being able to, like, pick up on emotions is a thing that, like, the Lord Ruler was supposedly able to do, and the Inquisitors seem to be able to do with their, like, allomancy stuff. And also it's, like, Soothers and Rioters have control over emotions. Like, maybe there's somewhere that you can, like... Because, like, Breeze is good at it because he has high insight. And he can just, like, read people well, you know. It doesn't let you read people's minds, they say. But still, there's, like... It can let you affect people's emotions. So the idea that, like, his emotions would be, like, affecting his, like... the metal in his body somehow feels like, you know, related, linked somehow. It's like they throb based on his emotions somehow. 11 spikes, 2 in the head, 8 in the chest, 1 in the back to seal them together. Got to separate the top spikes from the bottom. Kel did that by decapitating the Inquisitor, but it's easier to just pull the spike out. He'll never forgive Kelsier for stealing his dream and succeeding, and for dying. It's like, he stole my dream of leading the Sky Rebellion and then succeeded at it. And then he fucking died. How dare he? And then Chandra talk, because they're like, Renew wants you. He's not using Kelsier's body anymore. And Kelsier had some sort of contract with him that seems to have passed on to you. To Vin, and so it's like, you should use this, and she's like, no, he fucking ate Kelsier's body.
That thing ate Kelsier's body.
And they're like, well, it's whatever, you know, that's what he was kind of like there to do, and she's still just like, no. She's not
upset, and she's not able to handle it right now.
Renew has a new body and is looking for Vin. Around 20 Inquisitors in the Empire total, supposedly. Vin ponders Lord Ruler's last words. What was the deepness? And I'm like, what was the deepness? Finally. But of course, no answer yet. So I said, what was the deepness? I don't know. Thanks. Lord Ruler was terrified, not prideful when he died. And so she's like, he didn't seem like prideful when he was saying all that stuff about how we, like, needed him or whatever. He was, like, terrified. And I'm like... Just but the way things are, I'm like, no, I believe that there's something going on here, because Vin's say, there's something going on here, and I'm like, yeah, that makes sense, we're got to set up for the next book and whatnot. But to me, the whole bit of, like, he seemed terrified, not prideful, I'm like, the things he was saying, I feel like, don't preclude the idea that he was terrified, you know, because he's like, you don't know what you're doing, you know, it's like, he's bargaining for his life, essentially, and, you know, you can choose to believe him or not, and I feel like, you know, just because he's terrified doesn't mean that what he's saying is true.
Right.
I think that there is something to what he's saying. What he's saying probably isn't, like, true, but he was probably doing something. I don't know what, but he was doing something. And whatever that thing is, how important it is, how much him not doing that is now dooming everyone, we'll see. But, like, he probably was doing something. And he was like, you've doomed yourself by doing this. And I'm like, well, what was it, asshole? What were you doing? Could you be more specific? Could you not be so fucking vague? So being like, you've doomed yourself, I'm your god. Just being like, hey, I'm specifically doing these things.
Well, honestly, like...
I mean, like, no...
They're killing him, so, like,
No, I mean, like, they're not going to believe him, but still, it's like, you could have at least had the courtesy to say the specific thing that you were doing for my benefit. For my benefit,
that's what I mean.
As the
I think
reader.
that's a bit of the pride.
I'm just like...
That she's, I know.
I'm just like...
Like, hey, wait! Answers! My answers!
Because it's
you
like...
killed them.
And Sazed has a bit of that. It's like, you know, the only person who could have told us was the Lord Ruler, and he's dead now. And she's like, sorry. And it's like, no, I mean, he was gonna die anyway. Like, he was rapidly aging to dust in front of us, you know. It's like, motherfucker was gonna be dead soon anyway.
Yeah, and he's like, I'd rather record that he was killed by a ska.
Mm-hmm. And then she was like, oh, I don't know about that.
Yeah, like, record me? What do you mean?
Mm-hmm. Yep. No ATM in the treasury.
No ATM in the treasury.
What was he doing with all the ATM? Where's all the ATM?
Where's all the ATM?
What's up with that? Again.
There's a whole book they were trying to get the ATM.
Mm-hmm.
Where's the ATM?
See, and in the beginning, I was like, he's just burning it all so that he can see the future and watch anime. That was the original.
Right, that was Knower of Anime, right?
Yeah,
right.
the Lord Ruler Knower of Anime.
Our least watched episode.
Our least watched episode. No one likes the Lord Ruler Knower of Anime. It's just, But yeah, again, it's like, it was all burned by him so he could watch anime.
Are we gonna have Lord Ruler Knower of Anime Part 2?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that's not what the episode will be called,
no.
but like, that is for sure.
It can be a chapter.
Yeah, alternate title, Lord Ruler Knower of Anime Part 2. ATM Boogaloo, I don't know. But yeah, Breeze helped calm the riots and get them to listen to Elend when all the shit was going on, because the ska just started like killing guards, even ones who were trying to surrender, and like turn themselves over. But Breeze helped calm the riots, and Elend gave a speech, and Sazed's like, I wish I had my copper mines
to memorize it.
So I could have like memorized it, which like, that's cool. I love the idea that like you just get like a keeper with a copper mine, and they're essentially just like a fucking camera. They're just like a microphone. They just like perfectly record it in their metal mines.
Yep, and then Vin smiled. Kel would be angry with us, putting a nobleman on the throne.
Yeah, we did all this work just to put a nobleman on the throne. And then Sazed's like, more importantly, we put a good man on the throne.
Yes.
And Vin's like, a good man. I've met a few of those now.
Yeah, which is great.
Yep. Because early on she was like, is Kelsey a good man?
Yeah.
Yep. Vin goes to keep Venture. Elend is supported, but the nobility see him as a puppet.
Yeah.
And the ska are already sort of like forming factions and stuff. Elend gets to draft the law code of his dreams, which I just thought was funny because he's just such a fucking nerd. She goes to leave and she hears Reen's voice saying, "Go back." Yeah. And she does. And she gets to hug Elend again. And it's so sweet because she's like, she just gets to enjoy the
Vin
feeling.
closed her eyes, simply feeling the warmth of being held, and realized it was all she ever really wanted.
Yep, and it's so sweet.
Yeah.
It's just like, like, and that's it. That's the very end of it.
Very end of the final empire.
I do like Elend and Vin. I still feel like Vin could have started at like 17 and then turned 18.
Fair.
And Elend could have been like 20 instead of like 21, and it would have been just like a little bit closer.
Yeah.
And it's like, but they are still like, very sweet together.
Yeah.
And it's like, obviously it's not a situation in which like his age is being used to like, for him to like have power over her and to like control the relationship and like all these other like things that sort of like make these kinds of like age gap relationships potentially like dangerous or like unhealthy or whatnot. It's like Vin has a lot of the power in the relationship actually, and a lot of the like agency and stuff, and I feel like it's sort of like a contrast of like Vin is so much younger and yet in a sense more mature in a way, but it's more just like she's just traumatized. It's that whole thing of like
world weary almost,
Yes, she's like world weary. She's had more like life experience in a way, that way in which people talk about like people who have a lot of trauma being like
grow up too fast and
things like that, which means that there's like a real chance that Vin could end up being a bit of a like woman child in the future, Where it's
Yeah.
she the potential that because she had to grow up too fast that she could be a bit sort of immature as an adult, because that'll sometimes happen, you know. It's like once you get that sort of like freedom of being an adult, you kind of become more childish in a way because you couldn't when you were younger, and also it's just sort of like you didn't actually like mature faster, you just had to like deal with shit too early.
Right.
And it's, you know, the complexities and nuances of like being traumatized at a young age that I have some familiarity with that kind of stuff, because I know some people who've you know have a bit of that and the trauma from a young age and how that sort of like can affect people and, you know, some I've done some like looking into that kind of stuff to a certain degree, but never take my word on anything. Never just blanketly assume that I'm right about anything. If there's one thing I want you to know. But yeah, this book was fucking great. I'm really glad that you got me to read it, and I really enjoyed reading it.
This is and it's been very fun talking about it and everything.
It's been very fun, and you wanted to hear my theories going forward.
Yeah, your thoughts, like what you're thinking about Well of Ascension.
Yes, my sort of final thoughts and my thoughts going into Well of Ascension. I am glad that we had the plan happen in this book. I was like prepared for this to be a real long-term thing. In part, I think, because of shit like Wheel of Time. Where in Wheel of Time, I've been fucking waiting for that bowl. Like book before last, they mentioned that bowl, and last book they keep talking about the bowl, and it never fucking. And then this book, they're finally
going to get the bowl.
They're finally going to get the bowl, but they're probably not going to get the bowl this book, because see, I was like, oh, you need to finish this book, and I know that I'm going to finish this book, and they're not going to have the fucking bowl. They're going to have to get it next book, you know. Well, in this book, it's like, no, we overthrew the Lord Ruler today. We did it in this book. Like, shit hit the fan and we did it. And it's interesting because you said that, like, what Brandon Sanderson wanted was to write this next book.
His original concept was kind of, like, wanting to write about, like, after a rebellion. And like how they kind of do that, and so and people who aren't really prepared for that role, necessarily,
and so that's like super interesting, and so like I'm interested to see what this next book is going to be like, and it's nice to know it's like we're actually going to have to like deal with the consequences of this rebellion. And
of a 1,000-year empire being, you know, cooed.
Because I feel like a lot of times, you know, you'd have a lot of situations where it's like, all right, we've defeated the big evil threat, and now, end of the story. We killed Voldemort, it's over now. You know, we've defeated Sauron, it's over now. You know, we got to go do the stuff with the Shire, the harrowing of the Shire and all that, but like, or the scouring? The scouring of the Shire and all that. But like, you know, it's like we defeated evil and now we're done. But it's like no. We gotta rebuild the pieces. We gotta, and I mean honestly, that's a bit of what Song of Ice and Fire is. Because Robert's Rebellion happened in the past. Robert's Rebellion happened and we overthrew the previous leaders, and now we have this government, which isn't, as it turns out, super stable, because the minute Robert dies, there's this issue of succession and there's all this like war going on, yada yada yada. And it's like, you know, the famous bit that George R. R. Martin said was like, you know, how was Aragorn's tax policy? You know, it's like we hear that Aragorn is going to be this like great king who rules for whatever, but like, we saw him as a warrior and he, you know, fought this war and we defeated Sauron, but like, what's Aragorn's tax policy like? How good of a king is he? And so that's where like the whole idea of like Robert, like, we defeated the Targaryens, the Mad Kings who were so bad, but like Now what? Now I'm in charge.
Yep.
And I was a great soldier.
Yep.
I certainly killed Rhaegar super good, but like...
But does that transfer over to...
To being a good king, you know? And so it's like, we're going to get to see some of that.
Yeah.
Here we get to see... You know, we don't get to know Kelsier's tax policy, but, we're going to get to know Ellen's. And how good is Ellen's tax policy? he's
been studying theory for a long time.
He's been studying theory for a long time.
Now his time to try it out.
To put theory into practice. Mm-hmm. Yep, to put theory into praxis.
Into praxis, yes.
Yeah, and so, and like, I'm excited to, like, see how it goes.
Yeah.
Because, you know, he, like, the fact that, like, the first Brandon Sanderson book that I read is like it's time to attack and dethrone God, like actually, and we succeed in it. It's great. It's like, I did not know that that's what Mistborn was going to be about, and I'm so excited that that's what it was about, and that we did it. We actually did it. And so,
and there's still, like, it's a very satisfying, like, ending, like with, we overthrew the, you know.
It's like, we did it, but we still have all these questions.
Yeah, so many mysteries.
What's the mist? What's the deepness? What was the deepness? Is the deepness gonna come back? Yep. The next book's called Well of Ascension, so I imagine we're gonna go there?
Yeah.
But it's like, what's gonna happen? Like, you know.
What is it?
What is it? What is it even? There's, invisible mist creatures that attacked the people going up to the Well of Ascension, and there was like some sort of pool that he was like, I wish I had let him take samples of this like silver pool or whatever, and it's like, what's that about? You know, it's just like, I don't really have any good theories per se.
Just lots of questions.
Just lots of like questions about like my only theory is, like, I've talked about a little bit, like maybe Vin somehow has some sort of relation to the Lord Ruler in some weird way, and that's why she can do this stuff. You know, I think the next book will probably get some more answers about, like, some of the, like, hidden history stuff, maybe. But it's like, you know, we're going to have a whole third book. Yeah. So it's like, we're not going to get answers to everything, probably. Like, I doubt we get answers to everything from this book. We're going to get some answers. We're also going to get some new questions. And so book 3 is going to answer some of the questions from the first book, but also just some of the, like, new questions that are going to be brought up in the second book. Yeah. And then we're going to get Era 2, which I don't even know what its deal is going to be per se, you know. But yeah, so I'm just excited.
Yeah. But yeah, so then we've
did it.
We've done.
And
this is definitely our longest episode. It's almost 4 hours.
Yes, we are.
At least in the, like, raw recording.
Yes, the, like, raw recording.
It'll probably be, like, 3.5.
Yeah, I mean, probably more like, so, like, 340 even. but yeah, we're gonna be immediately going into the next book, into Well of Ascension. Yep. That'll be the next thing, and it'll probably just be like, you know.
Yeah. We've been talking about a couple different places to stop. I mentioned either stopping at chapter 8 or going all the way through the end of part 1. And then I also mentioned going through chapter 12, which is the chapter after
the end of part 1.
Part 1.
Yeah, because it's like we might do, like, bigger chunks this time. Yeah. Than we did sort of in the beginning of this, because we kind of liked doing some of the bigger chunks, because we just kept, like, reading bigger chunks as we were enjoying it. And so we might, the next one might be less episodes, bigger chunks, bigger chunks that we're going to be reading, longer videos, maybe even, who knows, depending on, like, how quickly we get through this sort of stuff. This one's definitely just, like, a long one, because it's the final one. You know, we have a lot to talk about. We also have to talk about, like, our thoughts on the book
as a whole, and
like looking towards the future and stuff. It's just like, and also it's like, because it's the ending, so much of the stuff that we have to talk about just like recontextualizes a bunch of like earlier stuff, you know. And so it's like, you kind of have to like talk about that, like, oh man, you know, like you look back on all the like epigraphs and stuff, and knowing that that's not the Lord Ruler really like changes your perspective on things. And it's also like, you know, the Lord Ruler's like, oh, you know, someone, you know, if I fail at this, someone else will, you know, finish it for me. And a lot of times it's like, people say that, but it's also like then they end up just like actually doing it, and so like, we actually get to see someone else has to go and like do it now, and that's like fascinating, and so it's just like it's exciting, but that's been Mistborn, the Final Empire.
Yeah. And
we have successfully talked about book.
We have successfully talked about book. I was going to say like and subscribe because apparently you're supposed to, that is a thing that you say on YouTube.
That is a thing that you say on YouTube. Although the funny thing is that supposedly saying like and subscribe, because so many people say that, it just kind of like washes over people.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And so they just don't end up actually doing it. The one thing I will perhaps genuinely encourage you to do is comment.
Yeah. And we'd also just like to talk to people and see what they think about book, because it's fun. It's
fun, and also because we're so teeny tiny right now.
Yeah,
you have a much higher chance of like a comment actually being like seen.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like if you comment, we will see it.
We will absolutely see it. We will get an email.
We will get an email. We will. I can see the YouTube backend where it lies to you and tells you that you have this many views. And like one section of it will be like, you have this many views. Then you click on another section and be like, you have this many views. And I'm like, what's the truth? We'll never tell. The YouTube backend's really kind of like confusing, but it's like, whatever, not important. But all
right. So we will see you next time for the start of Well of Ascension.
Yes. This has been Let's Talk About Book, and so now you can go forth and think about book on your own time.
Good. Well.
So I was gonna say we have been Smeevca and Strawberry.
Yes, and Strawberry.
Yep. Have a good whenever.
Yeah. Goodbye.
Goodbye.